G'day folks, I just want to say this is going to be a long video and it took me a long time to prepare for and to make. I hope some of you do watch the whole thing and I thank you for that if you do. I make no apologies for the length of it because it does need to be this long to do justice to the puzzle that this is. G'day folks, well this is the Crazy Doderhombus. This is a beast of a puzzle and my tutorial I think is going to be a bit of a beast of a tutorial to match. I may set some sort of record for length because it's going to take a long time to go through this and to show you exactly what you need to do. It's a very, very difficult puzzle in my opinion. So I've got a few preliminaries to get out of the way first. One thing that I want to do is talk about the default version that comes shipped. It's unstickered, so you've got to sticker it yourself. I showed this in the unboxing video and my choices so the default version comes with 3 one faces. Now one face is the face where the center parts turn with the face. So that's the white face there. And my one faces are white, pink, and orange. And so my pink and orange faces also have those center parts turning. The other faces are 0 faces. And you can see those center parts or the circle parts there are fixed when the face turns. So the default shipped version has the 3 one faces separated by a 0 face like that. So they could have had 1, 2, 3. That would be a different version altogether. So there's an interesting choice as to why they shipped this as the default version. And initially I was, not quite sure, but I can see now it's turned it into a really challenging puzzle. Now, as I've said, this is going to be a fairly long solve, so please use the chapter timings that I've got in the description. If you don't want to look at a scramble, that's fine. Just skip ahead to where you want to look. But keep in mind, if you don't scramble it fully, you will come across some situations in the solve that you'll think, well, I don't have that situation. I never got that. And that will be because the scramble wasn't scrambled enough. Now, I do want to say that I've really benefited greatly from one person in particular who goes by the name Apsu on the Twisty Puzzles forum. Had quite a lot of interesting discussion with him about this puzzle. And just want to put that out there that it's been fun and it's been very, very helpful to me. He has had a lot of experience with a face-turning rhombic dodecahedron, a crazy version that was put out a few years back before this one. So I appreciate that. Thanks for that. And I also want to say that there is an algorithm that I'm using in here, which I think Zergosaur put up on his channel, but it was actually Jammy T. Who are these people? Well, these are people on the Twisty Puzzles forum as well. So thanks to that one, I'll say exactly which one that is, but it's a great algorithm and it'll come in handy for us as well. Let me talk first about the orbits of the pieces. And this is such an important thing to get right in your head. Firstly, there are 4 orbits that the edge pieces can travel in. The first orbit is the orbit that has the one faces in them. So if I look at that white purple, for example, I can move that white purple, can move to there and to there and to there. It'll just travel around that orbit. And of course, I'm talking about without any jumbling. So it'll travel around like this. It's on the white face, then it passes through. There's another one face. Then it passes through here to another one face, back to its position. So this is the orbit which contains all 3 of the one faces. Now, if I turn it around like this, now let's take a look at the white green or the white blue. And I'll do the same thing. I'm not passing through any one faces apart from this white face that they started on. So any pieces in this orbit, this only contains one face. We also have, if I start with the orange and I go this way, I've got this orange yellow, for example, is on the orange orbit, as I'm calling it. And in the same sort of manner, I've got another orbit which only contains the pink face. So there are 3 orbits which have only a single one face, and then there is one orbit that has all 3 of the one faces. Again, this is what happens with this default puzzle. So not all puzzles are going to be like this, but this one is. Now what I want to talk about at this point is the splitting of circle edges. Just delineating the different types of edges, I've got the white blue piece sitting there. That is a single piece, and that's called an outer edge. And this larger white blue piece here, which is not inside the circle, is another part of this outer edge. I guess we'd call it, I don't really call them anything because I don't need to refer to them that much. But if you look inside the circle, there are two little pieces here. This one I'm going to call a wedge. This one I'm going to call a little triangle, which is a little annoying because there's a big triangle, but anyway, this triangle is exactly the same piece, size and type as this circle corner triangle over here. So it does get a little bit interesting. What we'll find later is that the circle edge triangle and the circle corner triangle can interchange positions. And that's not just a matter of interest, that's crucial to being able to do this puzzle. So they can change positions, that sort of thing. So I want to talk about splitting the circle edges. All of the outer edges can be split, no problem. And let me show you, for example, one splitting move on here. This is probably the most basic splitting move we could do. And what we notice is that on the side here, the white, purple and the white, red, the white, purple and the white, red have kind of swapped, I guess. And that has split the edges. Now, has it split anything else? It has in fact split the little white pieces there. And I'll demonstrate that simply by putting a different edge up here to begin with. So let's turn that one there. So I'll do the exact same move and just take note of the white little triangle and the wedge and the orange wedge and the orange little triangle there. You can see that orange triangle has come around now to join that white wedge. I want to put it back like that. Yes, it's the circle triangle parts that have split as well. Now the pieces on the outside have not split. It's just these pieces on the inside on the one face. Now this is really crucial because it tells us that if we want to split edges of any kind, whether they're outer edges or circle edges, we need to have the piece on a one face. Now with that in mind, what that now means is that we've got to work out which edges can be brought to a one face. Clearly, I've got edges that are on the one face or that can cycle to a one face. So this light green one here, I can just bring that up like that, no problem. What about this one here? Well, this light green inside or circle edge here, when I turn the face, that cannot move, so that on its own can't cycle up to that white face. There may be another way to get it there, but it can't just automatically cycle. So I've got this and this, this and this one here, the light blue one there. They can cycle. Now because there's these different orbits, I'm just looking at the white orbit. If I looked at the orange orbit over here, I'd find the same thing. The two orange pieces could split, and this dark blue piece, because that could cycle up to that face, that would also be able to split. So there's a number of those edges. Let's come back and check these ones here. These ones directly underneath this one face. Well, these ones can never split. So there's no way to move them. If I turn that around, you'll see they're fixed. And if I say, well, hang on a minute, I can just jumble them across another face. The only face really that I can try and do it on is this face next to it, which also happens to be a zero face. So even if I tried to do that, they will not move. Those pieces are fixed and there's really no way that I can get them up to a one face. It's a little bit like, you might remember a CRAZY 3x3 Mercury. We had similar sort of pieces that could not leave their orbits. So I've got these four sets around or just underneath the white face. I've got the same four underneath the orange and the same four underneath the pink. So there's going to be 12 of these things that cannot be split. Now there's 48 total. So now I want to have a look at the edge pieces between two one faces. The outer edges, I said, that's no problem. I can bring the outer edges and get them split and we'll see how. But the circle edges are what's interesting. Now, when I look at this one here, so say the red circle edges there and there, I notice also that I could cycle this light blue to that position as well. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, because that yellow could cycle here as well. There is a way to split that, and I'm going to show that soon. So these circle edges between two one faces on the inside of the front face. That's what I'm referring to these. There's going to be 12 of them because 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've just looked between the white and the pink. If I now look between the pink and the orange, there's going to be another 4. The orange and the white, there's another 4. So there's 12 of them. There's also now, if we look at, let's say, the outside of the edge. So this is the whole big edge I'm talking about. Now I'll look at this blue or this pale yellow piece here. At the moment, it doesn't appear that I can do much with them. If I, for example, if I say, well, I can jumble it across this pink one face like that. Oh, yes, I can move it. But all that's happened there really is that it's gone to another position of the outside between two one faces. So yes, I can move that, but that is still not going to enable me to get it up to a one face, which is the key thing for doing a proper scramble and a proper solve. What this is saying is that we need a method to get these inside on the front face edges and the outside edges as well. I'm going to go through and show exactly how we can get them off their current orbit. It's probably not the best word to call it, but it makes enough sense. The reason for doing it is, as I've alluded to, if you want to do a good solid solve, you need a good solid scramble. And that means getting these pieces out of the position that they're in and onto a one face so that the edges can be split. So with that in mind, let me take you through what I'm calling my workhorse algorithms for this thing. The first one that I want to look at is just the very standard jumbling move. So I'm going to start by jumbling. Let's say that I do it across this one face. You'll notice that there's 0 faces all around. So when I jumble with a one face in the center, I guess I say jumble across a one face, I can only have 0 faces on the sides. There's no way I can get a second one face there. And you'll notice that certain things happen, and they're going to be different depending on the configuration that I've got set up. So we're always going to have this swap here. What we're more interested about is what goes on here and here in the parts that swap. Now I want to look at a jumble across a 0 face, and I want to see what happens when we jumble with a 0 face in the center and 2 0 faces on the side. You can see that this particularly looks different straight away from the other one. So we've got a different outcome here. Now that was a 0 face with both sides 0. What happens if we do a 0 face with both sides 1? So here's an example of a 0 face. That's a 1. That's a 1. Notice that it's all the same algorithm, of course, and you can see that again there's some different outcome going on, particularly here and here. The final thing we could do is try doing a jumble with a 0 face across a 0 face where one of the sides is a 0 face and the other side is a 1 face. So it turns out that this is by far the most useful algorithm for us. So I'll just do that jumble. Again, you can see it's all about stuff happening here and here. Now I'll hopefully just remember to put a little image up of all 4 of those jumbles so you can pause the video if you want and have a look at what's different about each of them. But the reason that this one is so incredibly useful, I'm going to show you by putting a different edge just there. So I'll do that same jumble again. So a 0 face in the center, a 0 on the left, a 1 on the right. Now what you'll notice is that the orange that was up here has gone to here. The yellow has gone to here. The pink appears to have stayed where it is. So I've certainly swapped some orbits there, but to make it even clearer, I'm going to branch this now to a 7 move algorithm, and the only difference is I'm going to turn the front face before I do that. So what I want to focus on is what happens to the orange and the pink pieces here. So I'll begin with a front face turn, carry out the algorithm, and then undo the front face turn. You'll notice that the orange that was here is now here, the pink that was here is now here. Now the reason that is super useful is because it has essentially swapped the orbits of 2 adjacent pieces. And that's why this particular jumble, where you have a 0 face in the center and you have a 0 on one side and a 1 on the other, is the most useful for our purposes. We're going to see how we can use this later on in the solve. Okay, the next algorithm I want to look at is a 12-move algorithm, and what this is going to do is to attach a little circle edge corner, whatever you want to call it, from this position. So it's going to move the little circle corner, which is in a corner position, up to a circle edge. Really super useful. So what do we do with this one? Well, it's all based around this jumbling move. So we do the jumbling move. Instead of undoing it, we now turn this face that I guess I'd call a front down, like that, one turn. Then we undo the jumbling move. And we undo that turn. And you'll notice that that little red piece has come from the corner position up to the edge position. The pink piece, which was in the edge position, has gone over here to a corner position. And this yellow corner piece or position has gone to here. So I should point out also that this is all happening on the useful setup where we have a 1 face on one side and a 0 face on the other. Now the next algorithm is similar. It's a 16-move algorithm, so it's almost the same. You'll notice that the last one, the red piece, came from this position and it went up to the top there. What's going to happen this time is this red piece is going to go to this side edge position, and this will enable us to get pieces from a corner into not only this position but also the adjacent position here. So how's it different? Well, the first thing before we do the jumbling move, we turn the front face, then we do the jumbling move, and then we undo that front face turn. So essentially what we're doing is surrounding the jumbling move with a turn of the front face. Now I'll turn this front down face. Now I undo. So I'll do the front face, the jumbling move, and the front face, and then undo this one here. And you'll see that there is now a red triangle in that position, not that one, and it's come from here. And this yellow one again has come from here, and the pink one has come from the edge position. So if you need your triangle down here to go into that position, you don't surround it with the front face turns. If you need it to go into this position, you do surround it with the front face turns. Now I talked earlier about getting these edge pieces out from between two 1 faces. So for example, there's a 1 face, there's a 1 face, these pieces here. I now want to look at how we can firstly get the outer part out. So there's 6 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How can we get the outer part to be released? Well, what we do is, I showed before that if we just turn it up to here and bring it over to there, so jumble it across to that position there, it's still on the outer part between two 1 faces. So what we need to do instead is this. Bring it up to that white face, and instead of bringing this one up, give it 1 twist. Now, here's another 1 face over here, and we are going to bring this particular or this particular one here, it doesn't matter which one, up onto that face. We're going to turn this 0 face. So what you'll notice is that the inner parts here don't move, but it's the outer parts which are moving. So I want to undo everything there. What I notice now is that I've got an orange piece into this position, but the blue piece, which was on the outer edge, is now comfortably on a 1 face, and that means I can now split the 2 parts of its edge. And now I want to look at how we can deal with the inner part. So I just looked at the outer parts, which is say that pale yellow one here. I now want to look at what happens with the inner part here. So I'm going to carry this algorithm out. This was the one from Jammy T that I mentioned earlier. Great algorithm. Let's have a look at it. I'll first move that down to there, do a 180 and put it back. What that does is give me essentially, I guess, what I'm calling a pencil here. I'm going to rotate that pencil around to here. Now you would normally think, oh good, I've got 2 of these, I can do something here, but we're not going to do that. What we're now going to do is bring this down to that face, 1 turn like that, and you'll see there's now a freely turnable face like that. We give that a twist, and now we undo everything that we just did. Okay, so the interesting thing is when this was posted, it was all about splitting this particular edge, and you can see that it's done that. The red piece from this little edge has gone over to there, and there's a little blue corner piece which has gone into the edge position. That's great. The other thing that I like about it is that you can see that it has swapped these two completed edge parts. It has not split anything, it's just swapped them. And the reason that that's useful is because it's going to enable us to put in the two pieces that go here using that fact, using the fact that it splits this one and it swaps those two. So it deals with both parts of what we're calling sort of the inner part of this edge. Well, here we are ready to scramble. I did mention earlier that to get a really thorough solve, you need a really thorough scramble. And I want to take you through everything I would do to get it as scrambled as I possibly can. So first thing, I might start with some 180 turns. And once you've done a few of them, what you want to do is look for a one face and just start splitting some edges on that one face. And I would do both sets of edges. So for example, I would turn this around to here and split these two. And then I'd continue to turn. You can see those two have been split. I'd continue to turn once that's aligned the extra little bit and now split these two using the side faces. And you can see all four of the edges are split. I should say if you spend less than 30 minutes on a scramble, it's possibly not that good, and I'm only half joking. We'll continue splitting the edges on the one faces. When you've split all of the edges on the one face, do some more 180s and start jumbling across faces. So for example, I might jumble from this orbit here, this white red outer edge, that's what I'm looking at. I'll jumble it. It's in the orbit at the moment, which has all the one faces. I'll jumble it across to here. And it's now in the orbit that only has the orange one face. So I'm going to do stuff, that sort of thing, mix those with 180s, and when I get to a point where I've got some more edges on the one face that need to be split, then I split them. Now at this point what you're looking for is not only the outer edges but these circle edges to be split as well. Now remember from the introduction that there are some circle edges that cannot be split. So for example, the two greys here, they're directly underneath a one face center. They cannot be split, so don't worry about them. But I can see here there's a couple of whites that need to be split. There's some blues here. I look around and see if I can get anything else up onto that face that still needs to be split. There's an orange up there, so I'll split those, I'll split these, and continue like that until everything at the moment that can be split is split. But what you'll find before too long is that you now need to look at these parts that I talked about in the introduction, where these bits on the edges between two one faces, they cannot escape there. We need to let them escape. So we'll start moving these out. I like to do it systematically and move the outer part edges out first. And of course, when I do that, and you're wondering what's going on, I did show this algorithm earlier. I want to replace it with something that has already been split. So in this case, either of those two will do the job. So that is now in this orbit. I can change it with other pieces in that orbit, but I can't do any splitting of this or anything else until the piece that I've just put there. Now that can be split because it's on a one face. You can see it'll split with that one there. So I want to try and get all of these ones out. And you'll know they're all out because you will have done 6 of them, or you'll see that in those positions, I now have other types of edges, whites, pinks, oranges, that sort of thing. And that now means I've got a heap more out here, which I can go ahead and start splitting as well. Now you can split them now with the other parts if you want. The issue is if I split all them, they're going to be split with their own kind, if you like. So what I could also do is bring something like this up and split those two initially. It does depend on how much of a a really good scramble you want. So I would continue splitting them. And when you've got all of those ones out, what you need to do then is go ahead and get these ones out. And there's 12 of these to get out. Again, I showed this in the introduction, how we're going to do it, but I would not only be splitting this one here, but also moving that purple one up to the white face so I can split that. And then I'll turn this around and move the green one up to the white place as well. So you can see that green is split. There's the purple, so I can now happily move that purple off there for the moment. I might turn the green around. And of course, what I also showed in the introduction in some of the workhorse algs is how that I could move this one to an adjacent face. So if I hold the puzzle like this and I want to move the purple to there, then I can just do the 7 move algorithm. And now it's not on that orbit, it's on a completely different orbit. And you'll notice it's also been split by doing that as well. So I'd probably then get this green out and you'll notice, ah, good, I've got an orange, which is absolutely a one-face piece in there. Now I would probably want to replace the green with something like a white. Okay, and so now I've got these on different orbits. Those two have come out from here, and I can go ahead and split them and mingle them with the other piece types, and then I've got to continue doing that for this one, and then the other 8 of those pieces. Now you'll notice at this point between the two one faces, all of these bits are split. That is not split yet. That can just cycle to a one face, so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these 2 bits, these 2 bits here, and the others that will cycle up to that position. So they're all split between each of the one faces. That's good. It's not essential that you have white, orange and pink or all your one face type pieces in here. You can have the pieces that belong in here as long as they're split, but it's a good idea not to have them all back in there. You want them out in circulation basically. So you can see in this one there's a whole heap of whites, pinks and oranges that are sitting there in that particular one. They could happily cycle across doing a normal jumble move. So I could move one of those pinks across to there. It's still in that same thing. Now I've got a grey here. So the only thing at this point that you should look around and see that's not split are these circle edges underneath the white face. And that'll give you a good idea to see if there's something that needs to be split. You might think, oh, what about that? Well, that's a circle edge under a one face as well. So that's fine. That can't be split. That can't be split. But clearly this blue here, that can be split, and it should be split because it's been brought out from somewhere else and I now need to split it with whatever I've got. So I'm going to keep doing that until everything that I can split is split. Now, when you've done a reasonable amount of that and you're happy with what's been split so far, there's one thing that I like to do before I start shapeshifting, and that is to create a couple of inverted edges. And by that, I'm talking about the small orange-blue piece there. So instead of that being orange-blue, I want to make that blue-orange. And in order to retain puzzle shape, I'm going to do 2 at a time. You can make this happen just by shapeshifting and almost by accident, but I don't want to leave it to chance as to whether I get them because I want to encounter them in the solve that I do. So I'll link in the description to exactly where this algorithm is and how I explain it, but for now, I'll just carry it out. I'm going to be inverting this edge here and this edge here, the pink green and the orange blue. So that's done one of them. I'm now going to undo what I just did, essentially. And it's tricky to see, but it has absolutely inverted, where are they? I'll turn it back like that, those two little edges there. So at least do a couple of them, and what you can then do is split this with this as well if you want, things like that, just to mix it up a little bit more. So I might do that now. Wrong way. And then you just want to keep jumbling and going across faces and doing all the normal stuff you do, the 180s and splitting more edges, and you probably unsplit some. You want to keep going for as much as you feel that you need to before you start shape-shifting. And when you're happy with what you see and everything that can be split has been split, you've done as much jumbling as you feel like doing, it's time to shapeshift. And shapeshifting is a little bit easier than on the zero face. You essentially can do what you like, and I did go through this on the standard dodecahedral, so if you want to have a look at that, feel free, but I might just start doing something like this. The thing is, you can only do that sort of thing on one faces, so I can happily go and create, let's say, here's a zero face. I can go and create something like that and then move these things around zero faces. It's just if I wanted to split that from there, I could not do it on this face. I'd have to do it on the white face. Maybe I could do something like that. Continue shape-shifting until you're happy. And it won't be that long before it becomes quite difficult to do any turns at all. So at a certain point, you'll be ready to start returning this thing to dodecahedral form. And it's sort of a little bit easier, I guess, than the standard dodecahedral, where a lot more stuff can be done, but it's still tricky. And what you want to do is just have a look at the one faces where they can actually swivel. So what I mean by that is the zero faces, like, can I even show one? This one here, yes, it can turn, but the center part doesn't turn. So that'll be aligned as it should be. Let's have a look at the others. That one looks good. They look pretty good there. So now the question is, I suppose what I would try and do is initially, in fact, this pink one is the one that's not. Let's just get that better. I would try and see if I could just get a few of these things flattened first before anything else. Maybe, can that turn? No, it can't. So I'll just try putting that out the way initially. That still doesn't turn. Let's try and deal with something over here. So what I'm trying to do there is get this one onto this face. To turn it, I might need to perhaps try doing this one. That might be easier at the moment. Good, that's done. I've still got a few larger ones here. That, now if I can turn that face, that might be good. Can I turn it? I think I should be able to. But, oh, no, I was going to say no, it's a zero face, so I can't, but I can. There we go. That's good. That's looking better. Okay, now what I've got to try and do here is on the standard one, I could happily join this to the hole on this face, but I can't do it here because I cannot turn a zero face with this part sticking out. So I've got to get this onto a one face somehow. So I'd initially just go, will it turn up like that? It will. Turning this around, that's not going to turn up to here. So I need to try and bring it, can I bring it round? Not yet. Now you can see that what I really need is for it to be over here. So I'm going to try and essentially jumble the whole onto a different face. Let's just see. Yes, I know I've created another one of them for now, but I'll deal with that soon. So can I get rid of that one? In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to unjumble that, and instead of jumbling it and creating another one, I'm going to bring this one up in the hope, yes, that I can get that. Okay, so now that's sort of on the face where this one is. Now initially what I would try here is just, it's in the correct position, what I can do is try bringing that around and seeing if that does anything. No, it doesn't. What if I bring this one to here and then try turning this somewhere? That doesn't work, that doesn't work. Okay, what's next? I would probably want to turn it to that point there, and I reckon bring this up. Oh, I think I'm going to win it here. Turn that around and I've got that back on the face. Okay. Alrighty, so generally returning to dodecahedral shape is around about that sort of level, because there's not a heap you can do that I've found to get it into a really, I was going to say, crazy shape-shifted form. So there we go, it's back to the shape we want it in. Of course, you don't have to take it out of that shape initially. Even without doing that, it's a pretty phenomenal solve as it is. So this next stage, or the first main stage of it, is to join our split outer edges. And I only care about the outer edges here. I am not interested in these inner edges or the circle edges. You'll see this was split before, but it has come back through some of the shape shifting. I don't care, it doesn't bother me. What I want is to join these outer edges, and I'm going to do all of them, and then once they're done, that'll be it for the outer edges. They'll never come out, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to choose a one face, doesn't matter on mine if it's pink, white or orange, and essentially just stay on that face. Maybe I'll do it on the white for old time's sake. And look at that, I've got a couple there which happen to be right there already, and that's what I want. I want the pink yellow and the pink yellow outer edge piece here. Don't worry about that pink, that's not relevant. And I'm just going to join these using the same algorithm that I did to split them. Okay, and you can see now the pink yellow outer edge there has been completely reduced. Now that's all I've got to continue doing. And what I may find, particularly if I have made a point of inverting some edges earlier, is that I'll end up with a couple of inverted edges. If that happens, just leave them till the end. So do everything else and I'll make sure at the end I address that. But here I am on the white face. I would next say whatever's on there, there's a green, light blue. So I would look for the green, light blue, which is here. Now clearly this is not on the same orbit. I need it to be on the same orbit in order to split it. So I would just find another piece on this orbit and kind of note how I could get this piece to go where I needed it to be. So as an example, I'd look, just looking at any of these, nothing there obvious. So let's have a look over here. Here we go. So if I turn this piece up to that position, I could also turn, say, this one here, which I've just made, up onto the same orbit. Now I can swap them, bring that back down, bring that back down. It hasn't touched that one, but now I've got the blue-green. Now straight away, you can see that I have the colors are not matching. So the dark green is here, the light blue is here. That means this is going to be one of my inverted edges, and I'll have at least, well, they'll be in pairs. So I'm not going to have one only. So when this happens, what I do is join them as if I was joining them properly. So I'll join that first. So you can see that that's on the same edge, but it's clearly inverted. I'll forget about that now and leave it until the end, as I said, and I'll just continue to do the rest of them. I'll do one more just to make sure that the getting it across to the same orbit is clear. What about this orange blue? let's find the large orange blue piece. There it is. So I've got to get that to this orbit somehow. And I normally just take a little bit of time to look around and think. Okay, here we go. This is on that same orbit. So I'll bring it up to this face, bring the piece that I want up to the same face. Undo, and if I've done that correctly, there's my orange blue piece, which I can turn around to the other side and then just bring this one onto the same face. This one, the colours match, so I can happily go ahead and join them. There we go. Now I'll continue doing this and I'll cut back in at the end when I'll have at least 2 inverted edges and we'll deal with them. Okay, I'm back here and I've got 2 inverted edges left. I did have 4, so I've taken care of 2 of them already and I've just left the last couple. Before I go through that here, I want to show you what I'm doing on a solved puzzle. All right, the next one I want to show is how we invert edges. And this is important for both scrambling and solving. If you want to get a thorough scramble, you need to be able to invert some edges. So we're going to hold the puzzle like this with a 1 face on the front, no other 1 faces in sight, and the tips pointing up left and down right. And when I was thinking about how to do this, I knew that I had to somehow separate the 2 little pieces here, the outer pieces of red, white. That's what we're trying to do, is talking about inverting this piece here. So turn it across to there initially and down to here, because that puts it in a position for that to be separated from that, which is what I did. Now, the key thing now is you can see that at the moment it's red on the left, white on the right. What we somehow need to do is get this to be the opposite. So what I worked out was that I could turn this up to there, around to here, and down into that position right there. You'll notice that the red is on the left, but over here, that little piece, the white, is on the left. So if I was to turn, and this is not part of the algorithm, I'll explain why in a minute. If I was to turn that to there, you can see that we've created an inverted edge. The reason I can't do that straight away is because I can't move it anywhere because of this problem. So before dealing with that, I have to get this to sort of face the opposite way. The way I'm going to do that is to bring this piece from the bottom up to the top and replace it. Okay, we've now got a piece that is facing the correct way. So when I turn my larger part onto the inverted edge, I can now bring this to there. Now, if I wanted to, I could stop there and say, good, I've got 1 inverted edge and that's cool, except I'm not really back to dodecahedron shape, am I? I've got this going on down here. So instead of stopping there, what I'm going to do now is spin this 180 degrees to put a different edge in, and I'm now going to undo all the moves that I just did. So that'll come down to there. This will spin around to there, and now I've got to take this out of position and replace it with the correct one up there. Now I can bring the white blue back around to where it was. In fact, I've got to turn it up here first. That's better. And now reattach. And you can see the white blue pieces are also now inverted. So when I turn that back to position, the beauty of this is I've got the 2 inverted edges and I'm back to dodecahedral shape, which I wasn't before with just 1. So generally these will come in pairs, and that's how we can invert, when we need to, 2 pieces in that position. Okay, so you can see that firstly I've got to get the 2 edges onto a 1 face on adjacent orbits here, if you like, or not necessarily adjacent orbits, but adjacent spots on a 1 face. So to begin with, I'll just locate one of them, if I can. There we go. Now that is on a one face already, so that's fine. And the other ones here, it's possible that they could be exactly where they need to be, but it's unlikely. So if I say that one's going to stay there, then I need to get this pink green either to, well, to this or this position, really. That's what's important. So that means it's got to be on the orbit which contains all the one faces. So that's what I'm now trying to do, is to move this to that particular orbit. So I would then say, well, here's a piece in that orbit that I can bring down onto the yellow face. Here's my pink green. I'll move it up and turn it round. And that should now be in a good position for where I want it to be. I'll bring it down onto this pink face. Okay, that's absolutely perfect. So that's how I need the puzzle to be held, with the tips pointing upwards to the left, down to the right, and one piece here, one piece here. So of course, if my pink green landed here, that would be fine. I'd just move this out the way, move the pink green across and bring that back. So I'm now ready to go. So as long as they're in the position, I start off by separating the pieces, then I'm bringing this up, around and down, and I'm just putting it down to the point where this will turn off. So hopefully I've aligned that correctly. I now need to replace this with this one. And now I'm ready to turn the pink green on and complete that edge. In order to deal with the other one, I'll move it up to there and then spin this 180 degrees. All I need to do now is undo the moves that I did. So the blue-green there has now changed its orientation, as it were. They have joined. And finish the routine and you'll see that they were the inverted edges. They are now complete and all my outer edges are now reduced. So I did mention that one of the reasons I do this now is because nothing else that we do through the whole solve will affect those outer edges. So that's good. That's a nice little first phase dealt with. Well, the next part of the solve is, to me, it's really the meat and potatoes of the solve. It's the full-on part, if you like. There's a lot involved and we've got to deal with it quite carefully. So that part is to solve the circle edges. And if I just have a look, you'll notice here that, in fact, let's have a look at this purple one. This is an circle edge pair that can't be split, as it's below a one face here. So that's what I want for all of my circle edges. I want the little triangle-y thing next to the wedge. And it might look like, oh, we're doing a good job. Not really, because these ones could never be split anyway. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are really three different types or positions of circle edges that we need to think about. And the first was where it was on a one face, or it could cycle to a one face. The second was where it was on an edge between, let's have a look, an edge between two one faces. So these edges here, and it was these inside parts. So the white, yellow, the blue, grey, or the ones that cycle to them. And the third type was the same edge, but the outer part. So that pink yellow there is what we're talking about. So I'm going to concentrate first of all on the 12 edges that make up these inside parts here, as these to me are the hardest type. I'm not going to do all 12. What I'll do is 4 of them. So I'll do the ones between the orange and the white face here. So this, and then the red, yellow over there, and the purple, green over there. And what I'm looking for initially is, I need to reduce one of them. So I need to make one edge complete, as in grey, grey. And then I need to have the other one in position. And then I'm going to apply the sequence that I showed earlier and that I'll put in the description as well. So let's begin. It doesn't matter if I hold it like this or I hold it like this. If I'm doing these two, they'll always be on the left, basically. So I'm doing these two, I want them on the left. I don't want them on the right here. I'm not saying it can't work, it's just how I do it. So first of all, let's have a look at these ones on the left. This needs to be pale yellow, this needs to be purple. And I would initially just check, well, do I have a pale yellow or a purple in there? I don't. You remember from the sequence that I showed earlier on that what we're doing here will break or join the edge on this one. It will also swap this piece with this piece up here. And so that's key. So I noticed that there's a pale yellow sitting here, which could go in there. That's good. But before I put it in, I want to reduce that pale yellow. So I'm now going to turn it around like this. And you'll recall that I had a 12 move algorithm, which will place a triangle, a little circle triangle from this position here up into that edge. So again, as long as this is the one face, I'm going to do the jumbling over the zero face, and here's another zero face. You remember that I said this was the really useful one. So what I've got to do now is find a pale yellow circle corner part and put it here. Now, there are a couple of ways to get it there. The first one is you just look around and you think, where are these corners coming from? So there's one possibility. If I follow this up, you can see that it's right next to this edge here. If I move that around, it's there. I'll just follow this around and I can keep doing this, and I happen to have found a pale yellow corner there. That's fantastic. So because I'm not restricted in what I can move at the moment, I'm going to just start turning the faces that I need, and I want to get the pale yellow corner. That's a good position because it's only 2 moves now to get it down to here. Now you'll notice it's knocked out the pale yellow edge. That's okay, because as soon as I turn this off, I'll bring that back. So the pale yellow that I need is now sitting here. I'll bring it around into that lower position. That's now ready to come up and reduce with this little wedge. So now that it's in position, I don't care about anything else. Nothing else matters. I don't care about what other corners or triangles or whatever are involved, just that that's sitting there and it's about to be there. And because it's going to place up to the upper part and not to the side part, I'm going to use the 12 move algorithm, which was, as you remember, a jumbling move. And then a turn of this front down face, and that will bring the pale yellow piece where I need it, and then I repeat all that. So I repeat the jumbling move, or undo it if you like, and then it's not essential now to do this because all I care about is this thing here, but technically I would do that as well. So you'll often see that I just won't bother with that last move. So I now have this reduced piece here. Now I've got to think, why did I want that? If you remember, I was looking at getting the piece that goes in here. That's the position I needed in. So I've reduced that particular circle edge, and what I'm going to do now is not yet put it in. I'm going to store it. So to store it, I'll just put it back there or whatever I want, because what I need now is to look for the other color. So that's the pale yellow. The other color, when I spin this around, so what I'm talking about is this one and this one. So I've got a purple and a pale yellow. I need to grab now the purple, and I don't need to reduce the purple at this point. I just need to find a purple wedge and put it in this position here. So how do I find a purple wedge? Well, the first thing to note is that if I just turn this around, you'll see that I've already got a purple completed or reduced edge sitting here. And if I turn this face, I've already got one sitting here because these are between 2 one faces. So it can't be these two. I've got another one sitting in here, which clearly belongs in that position, which I'll come to soon. So the only other purple edge or wedge is the bit that I need. So I've got to locate that. And you can see that it happens to be sitting right next to it. And this is where it gets interesting, because what I was kind of hoping is that it might be somewhere on a one face, but it's not. And this is part of the reason that I showed a whole bunch of algorithms in the introduction, because it's not the sort of solve where you can say, well, this section just needs this one algorithm. You might end up needing 2 or 3 algorithms to complete the job. And here's a great example of this. This purple wedge needs to come out to a one face. The only way I can get it to come out, because it's on an outer edge, I must use the algorithm that brings it from an outer part here onto a one face. So I'm going to do that now. I'll turn this onto the one face, bring it around, and then here's the other one face, and I'll just replace that for now. It doesn't really matter, with something else. Undo those moves. And so, as I said, if we just keep our bearings as to what's happening, I've completed the reduced pale yellow. I'm looking for a purple. In order to get the purple, I need the purple on this face here. Well, the step before that is to get it on a one face. And which one face is it on? It's now on the pink one face. Okay, good. Now I've got to get it over to, I think it's the orange, isn't it? So I've got to get it over to not only this face, but this orbit rather than this orbit. So it's got to match where the pale yellow is. So I would now have a look and say, well, where am I? I clearly, if I could get it to here, I could turn it over to there. So now I've got to go, well, I need to swap to the adjacent orbit, because it's on the wrong orbit on the pink face in order to turn over to the orange face. So now I have to bring in the other thing, or the 7-move algorithm, where I swapped the orbit of 2 adjacent pieces. So let's just set it up, and again, I've got to make sure this is the wrong way to hold it, because I've got a 0 face with 2 one faces. How I need to do it is a 0 face with a 0 on the left and a 1 on the right. That's the correct thing that's going to work here. And I now want to put this purple into that position, basically. So I want to swap the purple and the dark green. Well, to do that, I need to do the jumbling move, but I do the front face turn first. Now, technically, again, I've got what I want. I don't need to finish with this undoing turn, but I will anyway. That purple is now in the correct place for me to move it along this orbit so that it's now in that same position. So you remember that I needed to get just the purple wedge into there. Okay, so now that that's happened, what I want to do is put the purple wedge into this position. So I want to swap those two. Well, to do that, I need to use the algorithm that will break this one and swap these two. Again, all of these algorithms have been discussed previously in the introduction, so if you need to, please jump back and have a look at what's going on with them. So I'm now going to put the purple into here. All right, let's have a look. There it is, sitting in the correct position that I needed. Now, you'll notice that this pale yellow is still reduced and sort of being stored there. What I'm looking to do now is, if I turn that little purple piece around and then move the pale yellow into here, you'll realize that I can now swap the pale yellow into that position. And if I put a purple corner there, I can swap it with this light green corner. That's exactly the technique that I need. So what that means is, before I do this, I want to get a purple corner into that position. Now let's just see what I've got. I do have a little purple corner here. And that I don't think is useful. So what I would generally say, right, that's where it needs to be. Now I've got to try and get a purple corner to there. So I do the same sort of thing that I was doing before. I kind of follow it around and see, well, where is it coming from? Or I was hoping that was it, but it's not. It's actually that one there. So I would just keep following, seeing if at some point I reach a purple. I don't reach one that way. So let's follow around this way. No, there's no obvious easy purples there. And this is very, very common. So now I've got to think, how do I get a purple little triangle-y thing? And I do apologize, I call them corners and triangles, but hopefully you know the bits that I'm talking about. I want to make it in that position. So I would initially say, well, here is the sort of piece that I want. That doesn't appear. I would do a couple of quick turns and just see what happens with it. It doesn't end up going to a one face, and that's important because I can now turn it around. So it's sitting here already, so I might try and turn this around and now grab this and just start moving it onto different faces and see what happens. Now this is fantastic. No, it's not, because not yet, because it's come up to here. I thought it was coming up to there. So I'm going to continue turning this around. And sometimes this stuff pays off and sometimes it doesn't. Now I've landed on another one face. And so I would turn that around and continue moving this. You might be thinking, do I just keep doing this forever? No, I don't. I do it for a few times, and if stuff doesn't seem to be working, then I'll abandon that and try something else. Now, where have I got to go? To here and come up to there. And I think I've now got one more turn and it's going to land in exactly the position that I need it to be in. Brilliant. So you can see that the technique there was basically to just start turning, and when I land on a one face, give it a twist around to the opposite position and then keep turning. I had to do that twice. Sometimes I have to do it only once. Sometimes it's in sort of the orbit that it needs to be in anyway. So I've got it in the right position now. I need to get that purple back to here without displacing that. So I'll just temporarily turn it off to here, put the purple in position, and now put that back to there. The last turn to do before I complete this is to bring the pale yellow reduced edge into position. So if we now do the exact same algorithm, we've got to think what happens. Well, I'm going to swap the purple yellow into here, and this piece here will join on to this wedge, which is precisely what I want. So all of this kind of stuff is the setup to get it to the point where I can now do the algorithm and complete these two. So I'll now do that algorithm. Okay, let's see what's happened. You can clearly see the purple piece is in there and the pale yellow is in there. Now, that's the only algorithm, well, the only time I'm using this algorithm is to deal with these pieces. So they are now fixed. They're not going to come out, and I can turn this face as much as I like, even when I'm doing these ones, and it won't affect anything. So that's good. So as I said, I'll do the other two here as well. I won't do all 12, I'll do the 4 of them. And that should give you a decent enough idea of how to approach it. So if I turn it around now and I'm looking for this and this, so I've got purple and light green. Now you can see straight away I do have a purple sitting in there, which is fantastic. You can also see that I've got a light green piece which I could bring out to here if it helped. Not sure yet that it will help, but I do have the light green piece up to there. So since the purple's already in here, let's have a look at the light green and see if I can easily attach a light green corner to this wedge. And this is the correct positioning, so I need to get a light green corner to here. And this is when I was just thinking about what's going on with that piece. you'll notice that if I do the algorithm, this light green will come out to there, and I could then move that pink corner into precisely the position that I want. Well, that's pretty handy. So I'll have a quick look to see if I can get it without doing that, but if not, that's where I'm going to get my light green corner from. Let's just have a look initially. If there's an easier way to get it, I'll just follow this around for a little bit. Nothing really that way. Follow it around here. No, nothing obvious there. So I think that's what I'll do in this case. And I hope you're starting to see why this is one of those bits where you do need to call on a whole bunch of different techniques as you're completing the phase of the solve. So let's get the light green out over to this position. This purple thing will just stay here. This is not going to be touched. Everything else I don't care about. Okay, you now see that it's sitting right there. I can give that a twist to put it down here. It makes no difference that the purple wedge has gone over to here, don't care. The green corner or triangle is exactly where I need it to come and reduce with its green wedge up here. So I'm now ready to use my 12 mover. Jumbling move. Put the piece on and repeat or undo. Again, I won't do that last little turn because it's not relevant. So I've got a green reduced piece here. I've now also, because I didn't do that last turn, got the purple exactly where I want it. So if you think about what's happening, that green is going to swap across to there. The purple wedge is there. The only thing I need now is to find a purple piece which belongs in this position. So again, I would go hunting. Just see if there's a nice obvious one. Not that way. Let's have a look for the other direction. Where am I going here? That one is around to there, comes to here. No, nothing obvious. So again, I'm going to have to think and just find a purple piece that I need and start turning it around. This looks a little tricky to find one. I haven't even seen one yet, so it'd be interesting to see where they are. There's one sitting in an edge here that I might have to take out if I can't find another one. There's a second one sitting in an edge there. That's two. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only one left. So if it's not on a corner, I think that might be the third one. Is that 3 sitting in edges? 1. This gets really tricky now to keep your bearings. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they're all in edges. Okay, so I don't really have a choice now. I've got to do something and get one of these triangles out to a corner position, one of these positions somehow. I just have a quick look and say, all right, let's move this one around to, let's move it around to this face here. I've also got this one on the same face. So I could, you'll note that if I was trying to put a piece from here up to here, I would use that 12 move algorithm, and this triangle or this little piece here would come out to that position. In the same way, if I did the 16 move algorithm, which I haven't used in the solve yet, but I've shown in the introduction, this little piece would also come out to here. So either of them would work for extracting one of these pieces out to a corner position. I'll just use the 12 mover because that's what I'm using at the moment. So this time I'm not interested in placing this pink piece in here. It'll go there. I'm really interested in getting this piece out to a corner position. So I'll carry that out now. And you can see there's the purple piece. When I do finish it off, it's now in a corner position. Okay, so I've got a corner out. Now I've got to come back and think, what on earth was I doing? I think it was the orange and whites, if I remember. Okay, so the grey, was it grey and purple? No, that's the wrong thing. It was the grey and pale yellow, which means I'm now doing these two, the green and the purple. Okay, there's the green that was reduced. I've got the purple sitting in here. So let's put that purple back where it belongs. And let's now try and grab the purple corner that I just, or the piece that I just put into a corner position and get it to land there, if I can. Now I've got to find it. Oh, is that it? My goodness, that's it. Okay. In fact, that looks like, is that going to be one turn? No, it's not. I thought it was going to be one turn to there. However, it's not. You can see that if I did turn that, it lands there. I need it to be there. So what I would do now is I would give it a twist on this one face and just start traveling, moving it around the faces. Where's it going to go next? Okay, this is now on another one face, so I'll probably give that a twist again and start traveling it around. Now I do want to keep my bearings here, so now that I'll just put it there because that's the orientation that I need. There's my purple corner. Which direction am I going? I came from the pink face, so I'll continue this way. Come up to there. And I think now, again, I'm ready to one more turn and that'll go exactly where I need it to go. All right, I need the wedge back here. So I'll turn the corner off temporarily, put the wedge back, put the corner into position. And just like last time, I now just need to get the green piece, move it to that position. So again, what I've got now is this reduced green piece is going to swap with the blue and the blue and position. And this purple piece is going to come over and reduce the purple wedge. So everything's set up and I can now make that happen. Okay. Purple's in, light green's in. I'll just turn this back. You remember I said I could turn this at will, it wouldn't affect anything. So if I now look at these four pieces between the orange and the white face, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see those four pieces have been completed. They're not going to come out anymore. And because there are, three of these edges between one faces, there's the first lot, there's the second lot, and there's the third lot. I've done 4 of them. I now need to do another 8. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do the other 8 on camera, but hopefully that gives you enough of an understanding of what you need to do to complete the remainder of them. So you can see pinks and blues and stuff in here. That blue obviously is good to go there. I need a red that would belong here. So just having a quick look, I won't do it, but just having a quick look, I'd say where is a red piece? It looks as though potentially there's a red sitting here. Now this time I can turn that red up to the orange face, which is good. So I'd then be saying, well, I need it to land in that position. So it's currently on the orange. I need it to be in that position. And in fact, you'll see, I don't know if it was this one that I turned up, but there's another red there. So I could happily bring that red across to there, and that would then be ready to attach the little piece, and away we go with this lot. So I'll continue to do that and cut back in when they are done. All right, and you'll know that you're done with that section when you get onto the orbit, which has all 3 one faces. So this orbit here, and between any 2 one faces, you've got these 2 parts correct. You turn around, that part's correct, that part's correct. And in fact, when you look at the faces, you've got that one correct. If you go to this one, both of these will be done because this is an edge that cannot split. And we come over to the other one, that's done as well. We move on to the next lot. This front face, those two bits are done. This one here, those two bits are done. And over here, those two are done. And then now between the white and the pink, yes, the two reds there are done. The two yellows are done on that side, and the two blues are done. So quite a bit more than it seems is now looking like it's done, which is good. That's probably one of the trickiest bits of the whole solve, to get them done. So now that that's out of the way, we move on to the next stage, which is to stay on the same edge, but instead of solving the inner part, I want to solve the outer part. So we've only got 6 of these to do. We've got one there and one there on these edges. Then we move to the next lot, one there and one there. So this is the one, and we can start with any we like, where we're looking for a color. Let's say that this green one, we need to bring an edge from another white face. And this was sort of I did this sequence earlier in the introduction as well, as to how to get a piece from here out into general circulation. So what's going to happen is that's going to turn up to the white face, turn around to here, or to the pink face I should say, and then I want a green to be sitting over here somewhere. So it doesn't matter how I get it. What I would initially do is look and just see, well, is there one that can easily turn in? It has to be there. This won't turn across, so that's no good. No, there's not one that's easily going to turn in. So next I would have a look and see that there happens to be a green piece here, which is on the pink face, which I could get across to there. So I'll do that first. Okay, and you don't have to, but if you complete these, you'll keep what's been done looking like it's been done. But I just want to stress, it doesn't matter if that happens. They are not going to go anywhere now that we've completed them. Right, now the green is there, but in order for this to work, there's the position. It's going up to the pink face. It's going to turn around to here and going to swap with this piece, which is going to move to that position. And that tells me that my green, before I do all this, needs to be in one of these two positions. So I think, well, how do I get it to swap to an adjacent orbit? That's right, I use the 7 mover. So I'll turn it to so that the setup is correct. So I've got a 1 face on the right and a 0 and a 0. I can now swap the green and the white. And that green is now on the correct position in order to make this happen. Now it's got to go there, and I can put it there now, but it will be unreduced. And you remember that the whole point of taking it out of here in the scramble was to split it, because I couldn't split it in this position. And that tells me that if I'm going to reduce it, it has to be reduced over here before I put it back in. So now I've got to think, well, how do I reduce this one? It's almost the same as the reduction we just did for these pieces here, which, where are they? These, for example, these grey ones, where we did a 12 move algorithm. What we're going to do here, as it turns out, is the 16 move algorithm. And again, it's in the introduction. Have a look back at that if you missed that. So I need to attach a little green triangle. The reason it's got to be 16 is that when I turn the puzzle in the orientation that it needs to be, so 1 face on the right, 0 in the center, 0 on the left, you'll see that this green wedge is on the side. It's not at the top of the white face. And that means that if I have a corner down here and I want to place it into that position, I need to do the extra front face turns in the algorithm. However, it still does mean I need the appropriate corner there. So I now go and search for it in the same manner that I did before. Just start looking around and seeing if I can easily see a green. I can't really, so I'll just find any light green corner, if that's possible, which of course it may not be. It looks like a lot of them are stuck in edges at the moment. I don't think there's any light green corners anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to have to move one out of an edge. So I'll see if I can grab this light green corner or piece here. I'm going to move that out of this position over to a corner position. And it's kind of handy that it's in the side here because this will do a 16 mover. It'll introduce it for us. So I've got the same setup here. The only difference, if I want these pieces to be involved, and that one particularly, I've got to surround my jumbling turns with my front face turns. So I want to move that light green out to there. Let's make this happen. So I do a front face turn, then the jumbling move, and then undo the front face turn. Now I turn this face, and I do a front face, jumble, front face, and undo this one here. What you'll notice is that that light green piece that was here has now landed in a corner position. That's fantastic because that's what I needed, piece in a corner position. So let's come back to where we were. I'm pretty sure it was this light green, but I just want to double check. It was coming from there, going up to here. Yeah, it was that one there. So that tells me now that I need to position the cube or the puzzle, and I want the corner there. Let's see where it did land. So I know that, oh, there it is. All right. What I would do to get it to here is just start turning. Let's turn it like that initially. Oh, fantastic. So that's relatively rare that it only takes a couple of turns to get there, but I'm going to take that for sure. So that piece is now in the correct position. I want to place that green piece next to this green wedge here. So I'm going to carry out the 16 move algorithm. In other words, just front face before and after my jumbling turns. You can see that piece has now gone onto there, which is what I want. Last turn of that, and technically again I would do that one. No need to, obviously, though. So that has now been reduced. Now you remember that I needed it reduced in that position so that I could move it to here. What was this about? This was one of these outer edge pieces between two one faces. So you got to keep your wits about you to sort of remember what you're actually doing a lot of the time. So let's now bring the green piece over to its correct position. Turn that to there. Bring this green piece around opposite. Now undo everything, and you'll see that green is now perfectly where it should be. You might be wondering, well, what's going on here? These are out. No, it doesn't matter because that green face is a zero face, so I can just turn them back. No problem. Good, so that one's done. I would do them in pairs, so I'd now look at this one here, and I'd say, well, this needs to be a light blue. So let's now position it so that it's ready to sort of go to where it needs to be. I know that's going to come out to this face, and I need a light blue here or here. Again, I would just check just to see if there's a light blue already sitting there. There's not. So now I've got to go, how do I get a light blue to one of these positions? Well, let's look at the other faces. You can see here there's a light blue over here on the pink face. So I can happily turn that around to there. Now remember that I need it to be in one of these positions. So I've got to move it from here to here. In other words, I've got to do a swap of these two pieces. So that's 7 moves. There we go. So that light blue is now in the correct position for where I need it to come back to here. I just need to reduce it. Once again, hold the puzzle so that it's in the correct And it's not that it needs to be here, it's that I need to have the one face on the right, the zero face, and the zero face. If I hold it like this, I'm going to have a one face on the right, a zero face, and a one face, and the whole thing will not work. So that's where I need it. I now need a light blue piece in that corner position. Let's just have a little look. Don't think there's anything obvious there. It was too easy last time, wasn't it? So let's grab a light blue corner if I can. And which one was it now? I'm completely, this happens all the time. I kind of lose my bearings as to what I'm trying to place. Is it that one or that one? I think it's this one, but I better check. Where's the light blue coming from? Apologies for this, it does happen all the time. I think it was this one. I did the light green, so it must have been this one coming across to the white face. It's that one there, okay. All right, so step one, find a light blue corner in a corner position, if possible. And you'll notice I'm having trouble doing that now. In fact, I don't think there's any light blue pieces in a corner position. So again, that means I'm going to have to take one out of an edge. So here's one that's on a pink face. Let's just see where that lives. I should point out that you can, I'm pretty sure if I do the 7 mover to swap these two, I think that may go to a corner position. It may not. Maybe I should try it and find out. Let's just do that quickly because it'll swap these two pieces and it might do something with that. That's what I want, to get that to a corner position. Let's give that a go quickly. Oh, look at that. It has moved that over to there. So that's another little technique you can use. Now, I've got to find which light blue it was again. I'm pretty sure it was that one. Yep. So back to here, I need the corner in that position. There's the corner currently. Let's see if I can make this turn into the position I need it to be. I think we're on a winner. That's great because that is going to turn around to here. And then I can turn this around to the position that it needs to be and put the light blue wedge back where it needs to be. So that is now ready to go and attach to the light blue wedge. So I'm now ready to make that happen. Now that should be attached now. We'll turn it back to that position. If I remember, it's got to be one of these, and that looks fantastic because that is where it's going. So now that it's been reduced, it's ready to place into that position. So I'll bring it up to this one face, turn the position around, bring that around opposite, turn my face, and now undo everything that I just did. And you'll see that that light blue has now been put into position. So I've just done 2 of these. These are between the orange and the pink, 2 of my one faces. And what you'll notice is that now, when I look across, I've still got these 2. They haven't been touched. That green there hasn't been touched. In fact, I could turn that. Looks even better. Moving around here. That looks good. Along this orbit, the only bits in here that are not done are these, that white bit, or what should be a light green, and this one here, and both of those pieces will happily turn up to a one face, which is good. So this is why I like to take care of these more difficult ones first. So I've done the light blue and the light green. There's 2 of them between the orange and the pink. I would just then move on to, say, the orange or the pink and the white and do the pale yellow and the dark blue, and then I would move on and complete the dark green and the yellow, and those will be done. I'll do that off camera and cut back in when they're finished. All right, now at this point, when you look around, you'll have done all of them and you'll just see a really nice line along here of these edges between the one faces, you'll see both the inner and the outer parts done. And if you make sure that the one faces are turned as well, so that's not correct, but if we just turn that around like that, then all of this looks good as well. And you'll see there's quite a bit done. Now what's remaining now is to get all the rest of the circle wedges, so like that little pink piece, into their correct orbit and placed into their position so that we can then solve them. And we'll solve them by attaching the little triangles. So the first thing is to get them into the correct orbit and position. And what I like to do here is, you'll notice that one of the orbits has all the one faces. I like to deal with any pieces that are not on that orbit. So as an example there, let's look at this green piece here. That is in the pink orbit, if you like. That green piece is not part of the all one faces orbit, so I'm going to take care of that one. How do I do it? Well, I want to put it there initially, and to put it there, it needs to come from the pink face. You can see that it's just going to turn straight around from there. So I've got to find that remaining green piece, and note that I've already done 3 of them, so it's the only one that's left. Hopefully it'll be on a white or the orange face. There it is. And I've got to think, how do I get it from that face over to the face that I needed it on, which was the pink face in that position. So it's got to be there. It's here currently. I've got to move it around to this position so I can transfer it across to the pink face. So you'll know by now, how do we move things around to an adjacent position? We just do the swap orbit thing. So I'm holding the configuration is correct here, but I need this green piece to be there. So I'll just turn that around initially, and now I'm going to swap the orbits of those 2 wedges. Good, that's there. I can turn that back and turn it around. Now at least it's on the pink face. And I look and say, well, where is the green? The green's over here, so it needs to be in that position. So once again, I'll have to swap from this one to this one, and setting it up correctly. As long as I get it to here, then it's in that same orbit. So I'll do the same thing now on the pink face. Turn it back, the last turn, there it is. And what you can see now is I can happily bring this piece or the position to the pink face, turn the pink face to put the dark green wedge on, undo, undo. That dark green wedge is now in its correct position. It's not yet reduced or it's not yet solved, but it is certainly in its correct position. That's good. That's one of them. What's the next one? I'm going to ignore the ones on this particular orbit and look for any others. So I've got a pale yellow here. So in order for that pale yellow to land there, it's got to come from the orange face. You can see there it is. It's already on the orange face. So this is a nice simple one. Not only is it on the orange face, but it's in the correct orbit. So I'll just cycle it around into position. Another one that I've got, let's say, I'll just put these back so it becomes clear what's what. This light blue. So the light blue's got to come from the white face in that orbit. Let's see where it currently is. It's not on the white, pink, orange, which means it's stuck in one of the other faces somewhere. Here it is on the dark blue. So that's fine. So what I'll do is bring it up to the orange face. Now, where did I need it to be? It's got to go there. So it's got to land on the white face. How do I get it to that position? Well, I'll bring it from this position. It means it's got to come from the orange face in that orbit. Okay, so let's switch orbits. Is that set up? No, not quite. That looks better. So if you're thinking, what am I talking about being set up? Again, I'm just saying it's got to be a one face on the right, 0 in the middle, 0 on the left. Now I can swap the orbits of those 2 pieces that I'm interested in. And I'll just do that undo turn just to put the pale yellow back into that position. All right, where are we at? I had to get it to the white face, so now I can happily move that to the white face, and it's got to go to this orbit. So let's do the swap again. And if you haven't yet, I guess you're starting to see why I wanted to do a whole bunch of algorithms at the start in the introduction, because I just use a lot of them all the time. Okay, so the pale blue is in. I'm pretty sure we had that dark green in. If I turn all the faces back, you'll see that everything's starting to look good. Purple's done. Looks like I've got a yellow to take care of. Let's find where that is. Sitting here, we'll turn that up to the orange face initially. Now, it has to get to the pink face to that position. So it's on the orange face currently. It's clearly going to have to move to that orbit there. We're now on that orbit. I'll turn it onto the pink face. And in order to go there, it's got to land one of these positions. So I'll swap that again. Oh, there it was. It was already over there in its position. I could have just left it there. At this point, I'll start just turning everything back into place so I can more clearly see what I've got done and what I haven't. So the white, or the one faces are correctly turned. Let's get that one done. That's done. I think I can turn this face as well. You can see it's looking quite good. The only faces that I won't have much done on are the one faces, because I do them at the end. Good. Now, in terms of that yellow, you might be thinking, well, I've got the yellow there, but I've knocked these out. So what I need to do here is, because I've just got zero faces everywhere, I position the zero face pieces, and now I can use the pink face to correctly place the yellow here. So I can cycle the pink to the yellow to the blue, and the blue back here. So I'll do that purely because then it enables the other stuff to remain where it should be. Do I have a light green to do? I think I might, because it's not on that face. Looks like I also have, well, not the orange, may only be, got a dark blue here. Okay, maybe the light green and the dark blue. So let's do the dark blue. The dark blue, you can see, has to come from the orange face. It's currently on the pink face, so let me swap that orbit. Good. Let's put it over to the orange, and I need it to be in that position. So we'll swap the orbits again. Oh, it was probably, no, it wasn't quite. Okay. Let's go and grab that dark blue piece and put it into position. I think the last one I had to do was the light green. So if I just put those back, we'll just see which one it is that needs doing. That one there. Okay, where is it? Vanished apparently. Oh, there on the orange face. Okay, so again, I note that it has to come from the white face. So it's on the orange face here. I can happily turn that around. I can now swap it to this orbit here. And I hope you're starting to see that it's fairly simple to do this. Once you know how to approach it, the actual moves are not tricky at all. That's now on its correct orbit will cycle it home. In fact, I probably shouldn't have cycled it yet. Let's have a look at everything else, because I think that was the last one that I had to deal with. Put the yellow back into place. Get the grey. Put that back in place and get the orange back there. And in fact, I don't care about the orange, it's the pale yellow that I care about. This one here. And the purple, which will then leave me the light blue to get done. So you'll notice that all I'm doing is recycling pieces back here. They're all in their orbits now, or at least the ones that I'm interested in at the moment. So those three are done. Those three faces are done. Now I've just got the pieces in the orbit that I've left till now. So let's have a look at the ones, the faces between them. The red's done, the purple's done, the grey's done. Now note that in some of them, they've automatically been completed. In fact, all of those, let me just see if that has to be done. Those two have to be done. Ah, yes, of course. So these faces between the one faces are now all completely done. So in terms of these other ones, you can see there's three faces here, sort of in a triangle, or what's the word, around a corner. Some of the edges are reduced, but there's likely to be one on each face that is not yet reduced. And the same over here with the other green, blue and yellow. So I'll need to take care of them soon. But before that, what I want to do now is just deal with the white, pink and orange. So my one face edges. Now, once I get the ones, if I leave the ones in a line till last, they're very simple to do. So what I'm going to deal with is to make sure these other ones that are not in this orbit are first done. So that pink's there, I need a pink here, for example. So I've got to say, where do I get a pink from? Well, there's a pink on the orange face. So the first thing that I'll do is transfer this pink down to the pink face. And I will use all four moves now. That pink needs to go over here. So you guessed it, I'll just swap the orbits of the pink and the white. Now, what you'll notice now, so that's where I wanted it, but you'll notice that the blue and the grey here have come out from the jumbling move. From now on, all we need to do is put those back and then put the pink back into that position, or I should say put the yellow back over there. So we just say, how do I cycle it? Pink to here, yellow to here, this pink back to here. So it becomes very clear to see what you need to do. And then everything is back where you want it, and these pinks are in the correct position. Same thing over here on the white face. Let's find another white piece. There's one here. There's a white piece up here, which I think would be better to use. So that's there. I want to get it over to this position. So what I would probably have to do here, I don't want to swap the two whites, that'll achieve nothing. If I turn the face around like this, I could swap those two, but it won't achieve what I'm looking for. So what I'll need to do here, that's the good white piece. This is the one that I want to get over to here. So I'm going to cycle a white up to this position so that it is in the correct position to do the swap. So for now, I'll just cycle white to orange to pink. So it's going to enable me to swap that white piece to there without touching this one. Here we go. Now, let's firstly, just the red and the yellow are back, that's good. I better get the blue and the green back as well. And Got to get this light green back over to here, so we'll take care of that. Okay, all of that is looking good again. Remember, I'm leaving these bits on the orbit till last. So I've got the last one to deal with is to get an orange piece over to here. So this time I can just turn that face and swap the orange and the white. And that's what I'll do. The purple and the green are back. Let's take care of the dark blue. In fact, what I should do is take care of the light blue and the yellow first. So now that that's done, I'll take care of the dark blue. So I've got to cycle orange to blue in order to keep everything correct. Okay. Fantastic. So you'll see now that as we move down this orbit, it's just the pieces that are in the line of the orbit that are not yet done. So now I can happily just 3-cycle them home. Let's have a look here. I've got an orange. There's an orange here. So let's go white to orange. And that gets all the orange pieces done. A couple of pinks and a couple of whites to swap. So just do any to begin with. Now I've got to get the other pink over to here. Always the last turn. All right, now you can see quite clearly now that all of the circle edges are in their correct position. What's really interesting is that none of the outer edges have been touched. I haven't even thought about them while doing the circle edges, and that's why I said near the beginning I want to do these first, the outer edges first, because then I just forget about them. They're not going to come undone. Now, as I said earlier, I've got some faces which just still have one piece to be reduced. And what I've found is in order to reduce them, I need to use either the 12 or the 16 move algorithm that we were using before to attach a little piece to the wedge. It just depends on the configuration of the face. Now I can't do it on a 0 face. I have to do this so that the piece required is on a 1 face. So for example, this dark blue piece, I would be just temporarily turning it to that position, and I then look and say, is it in this position or this position? Okay, I've got 1, 0, 0. So that's where it needs to be, which means I'll need to get a blue piece there and use the 16 move algorithm to position it. That's the sort of thing that I'm doing. Now, sometimes I'll start with a wedge and try and get a corner there, and other times I'll just say, what's the corner? Because essentially what I'm doing now, or the triangle in the corner, is that orange. I can say, well, I can put the orange there or there. What I have found is it helps to do the one face corners first because it tends to free up these other coloured corners that I might need. And so that's what I'd do here. I'd say, well, I've got an orange corner sitting there. I'm going to go place it in that position. So because it's going in the upper position, I don't do those front face turns first. And I'll do the full moves here because it makes sure that all the stuff gets put back where it is. There's that orange one done. I've got another orange one that's landed here, so I might as well do this one. So this time it's going to the side, so this will be with the extra front face turns surrounding the jumble. I'd next look and say, well, there is a light blue. If it's easy to get a light blue into that position, I'd do it, but it's not because there's no way I can get that piece over to here somewhere. So ignore that for now. Got a red. Is it simple to get a red? No, because it's opposite. I've also got a purple. No, that's not working either. So I might then just turn it around and say, what's over here? Oh, look, I've got another orange. I might as well do one of these. So I'll take care of, I could take care of the white or the pale yellow, it doesn't really matter. I'm not doing the fronts, so just doing that one there. That's put a white into position. Let's see if that, no, that doesn't help because the white face is there. I think that's going to help. So, having said that, I've just told a little bit of a lie because I can do this one here. And the reason that'll work is I can just turn that white wedge up to the orange face. You'll notice it doesn't touch this piece because it's on a zero face. And then turn it, that white is now in position to receive the piece that it needs. And again, important to do all the moves now because if we have setups, we don't want to muck them up. So it was that white there that was done. I've got another white in position and I can again get this white up to that face. And I would turn, that's going to knock it out initially. But what I'll do is now just turn the purple face, the orange face, and the white face. Purple, orange, white, and I will start remembering colors just to get things back. That's in position, it can go there. And remember that this is the only edge that's being affected. So the only other thing that's happened is this is going out to a, where is it, a corner position over here or something. I've forgotten those colors. Let's see if I can get them back when I'm done. Okay, I think it was a purple and an orange and a white, and I had to turn, let's just try. No, it wasn't that. Let me undo that. All right, I've got to think through here exactly what I did. I know that I turned, it was that position there, and I turned it up to here first, and I didn't even remember that one. So the white was at the end, so I do have to turn the white. I think maybe I've got to do that one. This is looking promising. Okay, got out of that one, no harm done. Keep looking around here and you'll notice there's really only one white to be done now. So I just check the corner position to see what's there. Can turn it around happily and see if there's a way to get the required piece or the position that it belongs in here. There's not on the pink face at the moment, so let's try, I think I was on the orange before, wasn't I? Dark blue, let's try the white face. All right, so nothing super obvious here. So what I would then be doing would be to say, the reds are all done, so it's really the granulars and blues on my puzzle. Different colors on yours if you've got a different scheme. But I might say, well, I've got to deal with this pale yellow. So I would have to turn the pale yellow here. That's the configuration. Can I get a pale yellow piece to there? That's a dark yellow, unfortunately. Or in other words, what can I get? And I can, because there's one sitting over here, which is going to cycle to where I need it. Now, I wouldn't remember that turn. There's no need to do that, but I will remember these ones. So I'm just going to remember to turn the blue face and the white face, and that is now in position to attach there. Because this is on the side, I need to use the 16, surround it with a front face turn. Complete the whole lot. Now, just undoing, I think it was blue and white. So I'll undo the white, undo the blue, and I should find there was one more. It was that one there. So that whole pale yellow side, or the edges there, are now completely reduced. Let's try the same sort of thing, potentially for this pale blue. I do have a corner there, so you never know. That's the position that it's got to be in. I need a corner or a piece here. Having a quick look around. This is going to be interesting, and it's probably not going to be a simple one to get there. I'll just have another look. There's one here which will go to that position, which is exactly the position I need. Fantastic. So that can now be placed there. Had to think what I was doing then. That's the only setup that I had to do, and I put the pale blue back. Now I'll probably stop going through all of them here because you get the idea, and I've just got to keep moving whatever wedge I need over to the face I need, find the piece that belongs to it and put it in this position. And if it's here, I do the 16 move. If it's here, I do the 12 move. And eventually you'll find that you'll be down to pinks, whites and oranges, or whatever your one face things are. And we just continue doing that until all of these ones are reduced. So I'll take care of most of them and cut back in maybe for the last one. Now I've got almost all of these done. I've just got a single white one to do, I'm pretty sure. So I would line that up so that it's in the correct position, and then see how can I get a white one to there. There's a couple right around it. Oh, there's one right here as well. So obviously I'm going to just move that down to there. It's got to go to the side, so do the extra front face turns. That didn't sound too good. And I was going to turn that back, but I think that's what I did initially. So that now means they should all be done. I'm just going to have one more little check around everything, but it looks to me as though all circle edges have now been solved. So that is a seriously major milestone for this puzzle. What we move on to next is to solve the outer edges. So we've already reduced the outer edges, so that purple-green pair is sitting there. What we want to do now is place them. We want to place them obviously without disturbing the circle edges that we've already done. So what I tend to do is do the ones in this orbit first, the ones in the white, pink, orange, or the all three one face orbit first, and I'll just take them one at a time and go like this. Firstly, I'd look, so do white, purple, and I'd say, well, is it in the orbit already? It does happen to be in the orbit. Now you would think initially, oh, well, look, I'll just cycle it around, and I'll do that and show why it doesn't work. Yes, I've cycled the outer edge, but you can see it's brought something from over here which should not be there. So unfortunately, that is not what we're able to do. So let me undo what I did there. We need a different method. We've got the white purple in this orbit, and I need to place it into that orbit there. So what I'm going to do initially is just to get the white purple piece out of the orbit that it's currently in. The way I want to do that is just to turn it any old way and do a jumbling move. So I could turn it like this, or I could turn it like this. I tend to turn it on the zero faces. In other words, I'll turn the zero face rather than turning the one face, because what I find with the one face, now this is not a deal breaker at all, so I'll do it with a one face here, jumble it across. Now what you'll notice has happened is that it's broken the circle edges. Now I say it's not a deal breaker because as long as you jumble it back when we're done, they'll all come back. I just don't like having that in position personally. So I'll tend to jumble it across or by turning this red face here. So I'll turn that, bring this one down, get everything aligned. Does have to be aligned fairly well. And you'll notice there that everything still looks as it should. Now, the white purple is now out of the orbit. I need to move it off that position so I can get these back. So I'll just do a 3 cycle. Notice I've now moved it out into an orbit that only has a single one face. In order to move it off and keep everything where it is, I need to not involve the white face. So for example, I will turn the blue face and the grey face. Just cycle this over to here, to that position. As long as I turn 0 faces, everything stays as it should. I can now unjumble what I jumbled here. And it's very important to me, at least, that all this stuff remains as it should be. So what have I just achieved? Well, I'm trying to place this white purple in this position, and it was in the correct orbit that it should be in, but in the wrong place. So I had to move it out of that orbit. So I've now successfully moved it out into this particular orbit here. What I now need to do is move the white purple position, which is this position, out into the same orbit, if I can. So I want to move it so that it's kind of somewhere along here. So I'd look at this position and say, well, if I turn that up to there, I'm going to be turning this one down, and that's not in the correct orbit. What about if I turned this up this way? Then I'd be turning this one down, and again, that's not in the correct orbit. So I would initially just keep having a think about whether it's possible to do this, and in fact I can see now that it is. That's the position. I'll turn it to here. You'll note, in fact, is it, or am I just making that up? No, it actually is. The position is the same as, no, it's not. So what I was going to say, oh, yeah, actually, yes, it is. I'll put this here to make the point. So let's say that I wanted to swap the white purple with its position. I could now happily do it over that yellow face. Okay, so I do have the position able to turn to the orbit that the white purple piece is in. That's what's important. So what I'm going to do now is not swap the two. I'm going to turn the position across to the same orbit. So perhaps I'll swap it with this piece here. Turn that down, swap the piece, undo, undo. Yes, it's put things out, so I want to be very careful to put them back in a tick. Now I'm going to put the white purple piece onto that position. And I do that by 3 cycling these 3 pieces here. Okay, so I've now cycled that to the position. Now I can undo that jumbling move. When I undo the jumbling move, everything goes back to where it should, and the white purple has now been successfully placed into its position. That's the general technique. Now, most of the time, the piece that you need is not in the orbit that you need it to be in anyway. So I had a little bit of extra work to do there. You'll notice the purple orange is already done. I would move along and say, right, the orange grey. Just check that that's not in this orbit. It's not. So I would go and find where the orange grey piece is. It's in this orbit, the pink orbit. So I'm now going to see, can I move the position to the pink orbit? Let's have a think. Pink orbit is that one there. It should be easier than I'm making it, I know. And I'm pretty sure it's possible to do this all the time. Oh, here we go. There's a piece in the pink orbit. There's the position. So you can see I'll move that to there, this down to here. So there's my position. I now need to place the orange-grey piece onto that position. Let's find it. It's right there. So I will 3-cycle it. I could turn this and this, or I could turn this and this, as long as I don't turn the one face. That's the important thing here. So I'll just move my desired piece, the orange-grey, to that position. And now I can unjumble. And the orange-grey has been placed. Now, I'm not going to do every single one of these, but I will continue to do all the pieces on this particular orbit and then maybe 1 or 2 on the next orbit, because this is a little bit trickier because of these one faces. So the next one, the grey-pink, I would find the grey-pink piece. Possibly. Oh, there it is. Oh, look at that. It's in. Is it in? It's in the orbit again. So this is a little bit annoying. Although, having said that, it's going to not be too bad because I'm going to take it out of its orbit. And perhaps this is what I should have done initially. Take it out of its orbit and put it there. And now I'll just turn the position around here. Now I think this should still work. If it doesn't, well, there you go. I'm now going to put it back into that orbit. So everything over here is still looking good. Now, if I turn this back around, I should find, and that's, look at that, that and that are out, and that's part of the problem that I've had. So I think what I could try and do now is just replace this green and hope that it doesn't break anything that I've already done. Because I don't really care about this outer edge at this point in time. So let's just see if I can do that without disrupting stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's fine. So what was I trying to place? This one here. So I think I've only got 2 left of this orbit now, but that does show why I prefer to kind of take it out, move it off, and then keep going. So let's have a look here at the pink red is the next one. Let's find where it lives. Right there. Right next to it, actually. It's always the way. So this is in the orange orbit. So I'd like to move the position to the orange orbit if I can. Let's think how I could do this. Possibly turn it to here. Where's the orange orbit? You do have to keep your brain switched on for this sort of thing. The pink red, it's going to there. Okay, I think we're good here. So I'm going to turn the pink red position up to that point, and then this is in the orange orbit, so I'll turn that down to meet it. That's good. Undo. Undo. So I've got the position in this orange orbit. Now I'm going to find the pink red, which is over here, and so I'll cycle it to that position again using 0 faces only. That's done. Now I can go and put that pink red back into its position. And importantly, all the stuff that we've previously had done is still there. We nearly finished this particular orbit. The red one, the red-white is the last one. It's next to it in the white orbit. So I need to see if I can move this somehow to the white orbit. Here we go. Okay. And turn it up to that face, bring this one down, turn it across. I think that should be good. Okay, the position has gone out. Hopefully, I've now placed this in the same orbit as the white red. I have. Now you can see it's too far away to cycle. So what I would do is just do an initial turn of that white face to bring it within cycling range. Do the cycle to place the piece onto the position. Then undo that turn. Now I'm ready to undo the jumble. That's the position. So I'm going to come up to here. That's the piece. Undo everything. That's still looking good. And you'll see now that you look around this particular orbit and all of the outer edges are in. Now essentially it's the same kind of thing. You just pick another orbit. So perhaps I'll pick, sometimes I'll look and see if there are some pieces already done. And I should say, like to get the two pieces that are on the one face done first. So I note here that there's a white green that belongs there. So I'm simply going to cycle that home to begin with. No need to take that out. And that's one of the differences. Why can I cycle this one home where I couldn't cycle the pieces here? Because I've got two zero faces next to each other. Whereas on this orbit, I do not have that. So I've placed the white green. Let's just do the white blue here. Let's check that it's not in the orbit. It is in the orbit. So I'll do 2 turns. I'll have to go this way because I can't go across the white face. Here we go. I'm going to undo those 2 turns that I did. And I've got the 2 pieces on the one face done. So I'm just going to continue doing that, and you don't need to think about the other pieces you're involving until the last couple. So what you would do is complete all the edges on the white orbit. That would leave us with the pink orbit and the orange orbit. In my case, I would then just start doing one of those orbits, and then I would get down to probably the last piece on the 3rd orbit. And that is where I'm going to cut back in very soon to show how we deal with that. Okay, well, I'm back here and I've got the last piece of my 3rd orbit to do. So that's the orange orbit here. Everything is done except for this blue yellow piece here. And so the 4th orbit that I haven't really looked at yet is the pink orbit. So there's a bunch of pieces in this orbit that are sitting there. So I just need to go, well, that's the position. I need to find, well, not find it, I mean, I know it's in this orbit somewhere. Yellow, blue, there it is. But I've got to get the position onto this orbit somehow. So I'd probably use this piece here, go across the grey face. And then, as usual, replace that pink green with this blue yellow. Now that that's done, I can cycle that one, or jumble that one I should say, into its position. So that completes the 3rd orbit, and what that means is that the 4th orbit, which happens to be the pink one, all the pieces will be in that orbit. I just need to cycle them home. So you can see the 2 pink pieces there are done, and it looks like I've got a 3 cycle here. So I'll take care of that. And we've now successfully not only placed all of the outer edges, or solved all those outer edges, but that means in fact that all of the edges are completely and utterly done. That is a huge thing. And that's really, to me, the major difficulty of this puzzle is getting the edges done. And I think you'll see why as we move on, because the rest of the puzzle, although it's still a challenge, it's not anywhere near as challenging as getting those edges in. Now, the next stage of the solve, having done those edges, is to check for a parity problem, a swapped corner issue. What that means is that we could end up solving all of our circle corners and then go to solve these tips, which I guess the 4 coloured corners, the TIPS, and find that I have a swap of 2 of these at the end, which is not good. Now, if I have a swap of 2 of these, I'm going to have a swap of 2 of these as well. So it's not like you can have this pair swapped and all of these corners are correct. It'll be basically like the entire face will be turned 1 turn. Now, because the fix for it deals with circle corners, I'm doing the check now. So the easiest way to check for swapped corners is to just solve, or not even solve, just put into position these 4 coloured corners, because it's very easy to go and place them. So as an example here, I'll notice I've got a white, red, yellow, green. That belongs here. I'm just going to 3 cycle by turning this to here, and this one back to here. Now I think that purple one, no, it's not the correct purple one for there. That's okay. I'll just place this first. So I'll just turn the white face and the pale yellow face, and then undo both of them. And what that's done is just place that particular one there. You'll notice that it's solved. As I said, it's not essential that that's solved. It's just got to be in position somehow. I'll just do the next one. Green, grey, orange, yellow. That belongs over here. So let's place that one. Okay, find another one. I really only need 3, because then I can look at the remaining 3 and see what's happening. This one will go to here, and I can use that as a 3rd one. Okay, so I should have 3 solved, or at least in position. 1, 2. Where's the 3rd one? That one. 1, 2, 3. So the other 3 will be these 3 here. So let's have a check now. I've got the purple yellow one goes to here, the blue red one goes to here, and the purple green comes back to here. So what I've noticed now is that I do have a 3 cycle. That's perfect. That means that there is no swapped corner issue that I'm going to encounter. Now, for the sake of this puzzle, I'm going to set up so that there is, so I can show you how to deal with it. All right, and here we are. You'll notice looking around that that's in position, that's in position, that's in position, that's in position. That's 4 that are in position. But the 2 red 4 color corners are swapped. So this is a perfectly legal thing to get. And the method that I'm going to use to deal with it, I think it's a pretty nice method, and it just kind of means what we're essentially having to do is turn this face 1 turn to unswap them. So if you can imagine that and that are swapped, we have to turn that face 1 turn. Now they're not swapped, then we've got to fix things up. So what I want to do is show you how I do this on a solved puzzle. Now this next one is about swapping 2 corners, and it doesn't really matter if you think of the corners as those 2 or these tips, because if I swap those 2, I'm going to swap these 2 as well. So we can come across this during the solve, and we have, I guess it's a parity, and we need to solve or fix that problem. So again, we want to hold the puzzle like this, and I want to firstly turn this 0 face here like that. Now the trick is to be able to re-swap these 2 pieces here. So what I'm going to do first of all is to jumble this one across with this piece down here. I'm then going to jumble this purple yellow with this purple green. So that'll come up. And the reason that I'm doing that is you can see it has now put the purple yellow where it should be. Now finally, the blue red belongs here. The orange, or sorry, that's not orange, that's purple green belongs here. So now let's jumble this one. Now, those 2 edges are happily back. That's fantastic. What I notice here is that I've got the purple and the red that need to swap, and the blue and the green that need to swap. So I'm now going to turn this front face 1 turn. And the only thing left to do is to deal with the outer edges. And if I look at the direction they've got to go, I can see white purple has to go here, white red across to here. So I will do an edge piece series to bring them across. And you can see that that is an almost pure swap of 2 corners. Those 2 corners are swapped, and these 2 are swapped as well. The reason I say almost pure is because it has taken a couple of the circle corners there as well, but it hasn't done anything else. Okay, so now that we see that, it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about which corners they are. You just need to set the puzzle up so that we've got the one face sort of in the center here, and we're going to turn this 0 face one turn to begin with. We're now going to jumble this piece with the top piece first of all. Now, because we want to place this red yellow over to here, I'm going to jumble this piece with the bottom piece. That's now back into position, and then I'll jumble the red blue that needs to go here back with the green purple. Now, those have been swapped back. We can see that these circle edge bits need to be turned, so we turn the front face. And then finally, just 3 cycle home our outer edges basically. And because we're doing it involving a one face, it will also take care of any circle edges that were out. So everything is back where it should be. And what we would notice now is you can see that is clearly in position. That's clearly in position. This one, yes, 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 yes. So all 6 of these are done. So I take care of that now. That is the parity fix that I use for these swapped corners. Now the next stage of the solve is going to be to solve the circle corners. So we're not going to do these tips now. We're going to do the circle corners. So we're going to complete all the parts of the circles. It's a pretty straightforward routine to do it, and I'll just find a piece that I can demonstrate this. In fact, what I'll do is show you this on a solved puzzle and then come back to this one. Now the next algorithm we want to look at is solving circle corners. So once all the edges have been dealt with, we've got 2 corners on each face. And the workhorse algorithm for this one, I want to hold the puzzle so I've got a one face on top and a one face down in this position. No idea what that's called. And here we go. We're going to be turning these 2 left and right faces here. So these are both 0 faces clearly. So just an edge piece series, left, right, left, right. And then turn the upper face. And now undo. Right, left, right, left. And undo that upper face turn. And what we'll notice there is, as far as the circle corners go, yes, it's moved other corners, but it hasn't touched the edges at all. So I've moved this pink piece has gone to that position. This white piece has gone to there. Can't see it, but it has. And this white piece has come down to there. So that's a really nice 3 cycle of those circle corners. Now what we'll be doing in the solve is finding other pieces in positions and moving them onto the white, pink or orange faces, or your one faces, so that you can manipulate them like that. Now we're going to find that because of our one face pieces are all on the one faces, I leave the white, orange and pink till last. I don't care about them until everything else is done. But I'm looking for other pieces on those faces. And the way your color scheme may be different, but essentially you've got these 3 faces here and these 3 faces here, which are the same sort of colors, blue, yellow, green on both of them. And on these faces, one of the pieces is not going to be able to turn onto the white, pink or orange face. The other one will. I want to demonstrate that. I find really important to understand what's going on here. So let's take, for example, that one's already done, so I don't want to worry about that. Let's look at the blue face here. Let's see if we can get this particular piece onto one of my one faces, and at most it'll take 2 turns to do it. So I would try there and then there. No, that hasn't worked. Let's try the other way. Instead of turning this up there, let's turn it down this direction. So there, oh, look at that. Straight away, it's onto a one face. That's perfect. Let's have a look at this particular piece here. Let's see if I can get that position onto a one face by turning it. So I'll turn it from blue across to green, to yellow, to blue. Notice that it's just traversing these colors. The next one will be green. I'm not going to keep going because you can see that there is no way that that is going to be able to do that. What if I went the other direction? Blue to yellow, to green, to blue. It's just going to keep going around in circles. And so on these faces, there are potentially one piece on each of these faces which will simply not go to the one face in a normal manner. Those pieces need a separate and special algorithm to deal with it. And what I'll do is, when I come across it in this particular solve, I will show you that algorithm on a solved puzzle and make sure that that's clear as well. So the general technique that I'm going to use is to just look at one of the one faces and say, okay, I've got a dark blue piece here. Can I go and find the dark blue face and just see if I can move one of the positions so that it's useful? You'll notice here that that position can happily be turned. Well, in fact, that's not the piece I want. Where is it? On the orange face. That position can be turned up to the same face. Now, this is fantastic because I know that my standard algorithm will move this piece across to here. So it's cycling a piece from here up to the orange face. This goes into position and this one comes back down. So that's all I need to do. So I've got the position. I'm going to now do the standard algorithm. Okay, undo the last turn there. That blue circle corner has now been successfully placed into position. Now when I turn it back onto its face, you can see, lovely, it's there. That's what we need to do. Now because it's one of these faces, blue, yellow or green, that one is not going to be able to do it. So I'm not even going to think about that. I'm just going to look at one of these faces, of the one faces, and have a look at another piece. This is light blue. Let's see if I can get one of the light blue positions up to a one face somehow. And I note that this position here will turn up to that white face. Now, I'll just note where is the light blue piece. And I've got an option here of either turning the light blue piece to there or of turning the position to here. Probably the easier one is to turn this position up to here because then I will be cycling that light blue back into its position. So I think that's what I'll do. Another setup move there to put the position there, so cycle away, the light blue will come back to here. Undo that turn. Now I had a setup of the white face and I had the setup to bring the position to there, and that's now been done. So I hope you can see that's just the general technique that we would do. Just look on a one face, there's a light yellow. Can I get a light yellow position to a one face somehow? This one again, I can just turn that straight onto the orange face. And so I would then say, oh, look at that. Purple to here, grey to there, pale yellow to here. I won't carry this out because that'll be enough of an idea by now to do that. But what I do want to do is have a look at what happens if you have a piece that you can't get the position onto the one face. Let's see if I can find one. This dark green may be a candidate. I'm not saying it definitely is, but we'll see what's happening. In fact, I think this one's probably going to be okay. Let's have a quick check. I should be able to get it to a one face in 2 turns. Oh, in fact, there it is. It goes to that pink face. So that's not really going to help me. What I'll do now is just quickly set something up so that I've got the situation that I want that I can demonstrate. Okay, so here I know for sure that this dark blue piece, which you can see is sitting right there, is one of the ones that is going to be problematic because when I turn this around, it's just going through yellow, green. It's just going to keep going blue, yellow, green. It's not going to get to a one face. So this is definitely a problem piece. Now, in order to deal with this, I'm going to show you this algorithm now. So let me take you to the solve puzzle. Now, you might remember that earlier I showed an algorithm of how to move out of position one of these, let's have a look, one of these outer edges between two one faces. Well, this algorithm starts in the same way. Now, I think this was posted by Zergasaur. Can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure this was. It's a really nice way to deal with the circle corner on one of these faces that will not reach the one face. So here we go. What we need to do, essentially, when we get that circle corner, we are, let's have a think. That one is going to go into the position that we want it to go in. So this will be the circle corner here. So let's focus on this yellow circle corner. Here's what I'm going to do. It's as though I'm taking this outer edge out onto that face. So I'll do that, turn it around. I don't really need to undo. And you remember when we did the edges, I moved this or this piece up into position. What I'm doing now is moving this piece like that. Spin it around 180 and then return this. Now the key move here is there's our little yellow circle corner. I'm now going to turn that face 180 degrees and I've got a new circle corner in there, which is all well and good. Let's undo all these moves. And we'll have a look what's happened. So there was the circle corner. You'll notice that's now a white, but the really, really crucial thing is that that yellow circle corner has now landed itself onto a one face. So I'm now able to move it around and manipulate it. So what that tells us is that I need my dark blue piece sitting over here to begin with. So the first thing to do is get the dark blue up to that position. So that position there means I can cycle it. I could either do 2 cycles, move it to here first and then to here, or I could simply go backwards and cycle the grey to the yellow to the blue, and the blue into that position. Now to go backwards, the nice thing is all you do is do this turn first and then carry out your edge piece series. Right, so that dark blue has been moved to there. That's now exactly the position that we need, so that's what you might have to do first. And now we've got the puzzle ready to go. This dark blue is going to place using this really nice algorithm. Let's have a look. As I said, it's the same beginning as, if you think about it, it's the same beginning as doing one of these outer edges which sit between two one faces. That's what's nice about it. So we'll move that around. Okay, we now need to turn this across. So far it's exactly the same. Now we're going to do the 180, turn this back, and here's the good part, is turning that face and putting the required piece on. Now all I'm doing essentially now is bringing this stuff back to where it belongs. So I'll undo this portion of the turns, and now I'll undo this portion of the turns, and that dark blue piece has been placed exactly where it needs to go. So given the fact that we needed to use a lot of that routine to deal with these edges anyway, I don't think it's a big deal to do this. It's just a few more turns and you can see what's happening. So that's how we do that. I just want to make note also that I haven't talked about the other faces, so the red, the purple and the grey, because pieces on these faces will always be able to move to a one face. As an example of that, this grey position here, if I try to turn that there and there, 2 moves, no, that's not on a one face. But if I turn it in the other direction, so to here And then around to here, suddenly I've landed on a one face. So every piece on those faces will be fine. So again, I would probably just, let's see if we can find another one that's useful. This light green one here, there's a light green piece. Let's find a light green position. That one will go to there. Don't think that's going to work. How about if we go, no, that won't work. That's the dodgy one. So this one I think will be fine. If I go, yep, straight to the white face. So I'd move the position to the white face. And I've got the green sitting here. So what I could do this time is just do a setup of the orange face to put the green piece there. And because I want it to move across to here, once again, I'll move backwards. I'll move the piece movement backwards so the light green goes into that position. Okay, that's all done. See the pieces in position. And then I'll have to undo, I had a setup over here, and then I had to undo this one. So that green is done. Now I was hoping to get another piece which requires the harder algorithm here, and that could be either one of them, so that's not going to work. I don't think I do, because I think that dark green, even though it's on there, no, that's going to be fine. So what I'll do is just continue working through these, and then I'll cut back in when I'm perhaps down to the last difficult one, leading up to the pink, orange, and white pieces. Okay, well, all the pieces are done apart from some whites, pinks, and oranges, and apart from this little green piece here, this light green piece, which is one of the dodgy ones. So it's only going to cycle around to the other faces. So what that means is I've got to note, firstly, if it's here that it's going to turn on to the pink face, I need the light green piece to be in that position before I start. So it's currently here, so that's just a nice simple cycle up to there to begin with. And that's now ready in position for us to go ahead and place it. So that's the last of the really problem pieces, because the only ones left are on the one faces. So I've got a white that needs to go up here. So I could cycle the white to there, this white to here, and the orange back to here. That's the most logical thing to do at the moment. I've said it before, I'll say it again, always the last turn. Okay, so the whites are done, and that should just leave a couple to take care of here. So I've got pink to orange for my last cycle. Alrighty, and you can see that all of the circle corners have now been solved. Well, the next stage is it's a quick stage, and it's just to solve these 4 coloured corners. And we've seen earlier when we checked for swapped corners how we do it. So the only tricky thing really is potentially orienting the pieces before we solve them. So what I would do initially is just look to see if any are in position ready to go across. And an example of that is this green, white, red, yellow one. And the reason that I know it's in its correct orientation is the colour on the face goes straight across. So when I turn that across like that, that's how it's going to land. So this is ready to go. I've got this piece here going to that one. Now clearly I don't want to involve that piece there. So I would initially say, well, could I place this one as well? Yellow, pink, grey, blue. That's this position. I wouldn't spend heaps of time on it, but I might try and just turn it up and say, well, would that work? Because the pale yellow is going to go to here. So when I move that back, I see, oh, no, that's not where it's going to go. And it's going to be too iffy to get it there. So what I would do instead, because I don't really want it in position unsolved, is to put a different one in its place. So perhaps this one, just do a setup to there so that I can get this one done. Okay, that's taken care of. Let's undo the setup. So that'll be 2 that we've got done, those 2 there. I really just want to get one more and then I'm left with a 3 cycle. Now here's a nice one that's also in position, ready to go across to there. So let's put a 3rd one in its position. We'll do a setup to there again. Undo. Okay, let's see where we're at. We've definitely got 1, 2, 3 placed. So that leaves this one and this one and that one there. Where are they? They are in a row. Now that's not necessarily a good thing, because this is where it can be a little bit interesting. Now what I do have here is the first piece is ready to go across. That's good. That saves me a little bit of work. So that one is going to go across to there. Now what I need to do is note how this one turns, and I see that this dark blue is going to land in that position. What that tells me is that I need the pink color, which is in the dark blue face, to be here before I start. And that will ensure that all 3 of these pieces place and orient correctly. So how do I get the pink to there? Well, essentially what I'm going to do is rotate around this corner. So I'm going to move it to here and back to here. And I'm going to have to do that again, because each time I do that, it'll kind of rotate it around one turn. So let's firstly turn down to there, and then up into its position. And you can see that has rotated now. And I'm going to undo that because I've genuinely forgotten which color it was that I was requiring. Okay, the pink. I've got to remember the pink is what I'm looking to be on this purple face. And you can see that the pink used to be there, now it's here. So I'm going to do that one more time. Now the pink is in position. So these 3 pieces will now orient correctly when I cycle them home. And you can see very clearly these 2 have done so. It's just a matter of undoing the setups. So I remember that I came back this way first, and I had to do it twice. And there we go. So that has dealt with fairly quickly and easily, especially considering some of the hassles previously with these 4 coloured corners, all these tips. Now, if you've skipped ahead and you have ended up with 2 swapped corners, you just need to go back and have a look at the section on that for dealing with it. I dealt with it earlier. All right, the next section is the second to last section of the solve, and it's to deal with these 3 coloured corners. So we're kind of on the home stretch, but it does take a fair while to do these large triangles, so I don't want to get too excited yet. So the 3 coloured corners, or the tri-corners, I'm going to be using the exact same routine that I used for the standard dodecahedral. And so I'm going to be cycling like that. What I'll do first is show you exactly how this works on a solved puzzle. And the next algorithm we want to look at is to solving the corners, these 3 coloured corners. So what we want to do here, it's a little bit different than the zero face or the standard. We need to hold the puzzle in the same way that we did there, but so that we have a 1 face at the front. So I'm basically going to be turning up, left and right, but I must have the 1 face at the front. So it's the same algorithm as used previously, and it's essentially a corner piece series followed by the opposite corner piece series. So here we go. I'm going to turn the up face, then the right face, and the up and the left, and then I repeat that. So that's done. You can see that the corners have moved, but so have these little triangles and things like that. What I want to do now is, and in fact you could leave it like that and just say, well, I'm happy with that corner piece series that moves it around like this. So just do that once. I don't think anything else has been touched. What I will do is, because I like a pure series, is now to do the corner piece series where I turn the upper face and then the left and the upper face and the right. And you can see that what that's done is put all the big triangles back into position, and I just have a pure 3 cycle of corners there. Now you can see from that I need to hopefully find 1 piece, either a piece that's going to travel across the face or a piece here that's going to travel down the face like that. But the important thing for this puzzle is I must have a 1 face in this position. So I can't have it like that and be turning a 1 face as part of my turn, because it will muck up stuff that I've already done. So I tend to put the 1 face in position and then just see if I can get anything to work. So as an example, this is going to be a yellow, blue, green. Where is that piece? Is that it? No. It doesn't exist, apparently. No, seriously, oh my goodness, it's right there. Apologise for my blindness. What I would do, first of all, is just turn it up and say, is that going to be correctly oriented? It's not. I would just try to see if I turn it around like this, whether that will then orient it, and it does. And that's good enough for me. I'll say, yep, that's going to definitely place 1 of these pieces. And for these, I'm only trying to place 1 at a time. I'm not trying to do 2, it's too difficult. So I'll carry out the routine and then I'll undo these setup moves. So that's the first corner piece series, and then we follow it up with the other one, which is turning the upper face, then the left face. All right, all done. So you can see that has been placed. I just need to undo those setup moves that I did. And now I look for another one. So I'd possibly just maybe turn it around and see what's going on up here. I've got blue, white, red that's got to go to there. I would initially try turning like that just to see if that helps. It doesn't really. Blue, yellow, green's got to go there. That doesn't help. Having said that, I might also try something like this, just turning that across like there. Lovely. So those 2 setup moves have put that yellow, blue, green into position to go across to there. Now I just checked that this one is one that hasn't been done yet, and it hasn't, so that's all good. And I've got my 1 face at the front, so away I go. Okay, that's in position. Let's undo the two setups. And you can see the general technique there. Everything else that we've already done is still there. I'm going to keep working my way through them, and I will cut back in when I'm down to the last 2 or 3. Now, when I said the last 2 or 3, I didn't mean that I'd get a swap of 2. That's not possible. We've already dealt with that. I did, however, mean we could get 2 in position and twisted. And I am going to show that, but what I've got here is 3 remaining. So the purple, yellow, orange has to go here. The pink, grey, green has to go across to here, and this purple, white, green comes back to here. Now, ordinarily, you would look at this and say, oh, awesome, that is set up ready to go across to there. But you'll notice that I don't have a one face in front here, so I can't automatically do that. So what I would have a look at doing is just to see, is it possible to set these pieces up without too much fuss so that they correctly cycle home. So initially, I would hold the puzzle with a one face at the front, and I would say, all right, well, I want to move this one to this position. So let's move this position across like that. That's an easy one. I don't have to remember that. Now it's the yellow face. So I require the yellow sticker to be on that face. And it just so happens that when I turn it up, it is. So that's pretty cool. Now, the trick is, can I get my third piece correctly positioned here so that all 3 will solve and orient? Now, to think about this, I look at this piece here and I know that this second piece comes down like that. It just rolls around. So the pink sticker is going to be there. So I look in the pink face and say, well, that means that I need to get the white sticker onto that position if this is going to work. So I've done 2 setup moves. I can probably remember them. What I'm going to do now is just say, will it work? I'll turn this down to here, and I'll turn this into position. And unfortunately, the white has not gone where I wanted it. Now, if it had gone where I wanted it, I would say, fantastic. I'd carry out the cycle, undo the setup moves, and the corners would be done. Because it hasn't, I'm still going to carry out this cycle. However, I'm going to be left with 2 corners that need to be oriented. And so that's not a bad thing, because I do want to go through exactly how you do that. So I can probably remember these setups because they're separate setups. So the pieces are now in position. Let's cycle these 3 pieces now. So there's the first part. And there's the second part. Just about done. There it is. Okay, so you can see that that has certainly placed. Let's undo the setups that I had. There was one of them, and there was the other position there. Now, I think I had to undo this one and this one. Let's see what we're left with. That one is placed and oriented. This one is not. And what was the other one? This one over here. So you'll notice now that I've got this one that needs to rotate clockwise. This one needs to rotate anti-clockwise. Now, before I solve these things, let's have a look at exactly what's going on a solved puzzle. Well, this one we want to look at is going to rotate 2 of these corners. So what we're going to do is do the same move as to cycle them initially. And this time, so that's done. And what we want to do now is turn this front face 1 turn. Now we'll undo this, but instead of when we cycled the corners, we did an up turn and then a right turn first here we're going to do the upturn and the left turn first for the corner piece series. And now we finish with the upturn and the right turn. And then of course undo that front turn, and you'll see that the only two things that have been changed are these two corners. This one at the top has been rotated clockwise, this one at the bottom has been rotated anti-clockwise. So it can be really handy near the end of doing the corners if you find that you just can't position the corners into where you need them to get all three done in one cycle. All right, well that tells us that I need to firstly have the one face in a position like this to begin with. So it doesn't matter which one, I wonder what's sensible. If I had it like this, I would want the anti-clockwise turning piece in this position. Now this one needs to turn clockwise. I can happily move it to there. It's just a question of how easy is it to get the other one to here. Not super simple, so maybe we'll abandon the white face at the front. Let's try with the orange face at the front. I'll need the pieces here. I've got that one which can turn to there, and that one. This looks pretty good. Okay, so first of all, let's just say I'll turn this one to that position. Now this is the one that needs to rotate anti-clockwise, and you can see this one needs to rotate clockwise, but that's not a problem. If I turn this one around as well, those two turns are separate, so they don't interact. So the only really the setup move I've got to remember is this yellow one. So I'm now going to turn the yellow face, and now I have the clockwise turning one here and the anti-clockwise turning one here. That's what I need. So everything's set up. I've got a one face at the front, the pieces in the position that I need them to be in, and I can now go ahead and orient these. And the reason that I'm showing this is because sometimes it's just easier than trying to fiddle around with setup moves to orient the final three in one hit. So here we go. First of all, I'll cycle the corners. So that's half the cycle. All right, there's the first cycle, and now I want to turn this front face one turn and now do the opposite cycle. So I want to start with this left face. And the last part, the corner piece series with the right face turn. That's all done. Undo that front face turn, and I've just got to remember that it was the yellow face that I turned initially, and then I put this one back, put this one back, and what we'll see is that whatever corners we had are now in position and oriented. I think that was one of them. Can't remember the other one, but all of those three color corners have now been solved. Now that leads us to the final section of the solve, which is going to be these triangles, these large triangles. There are no surprises here. And to demonstrate exactly what I'm doing, let me show you this on a solved puzzle. Now this algorithm is going to cycle three of these large triangles. And what it's going to do is two across a face. So if that's the face that I'm jumbling over, I'm really jumbling using these side faces, but it's these triangles that are going to be involved. So there's two pieces there, and then my third one is either going to come from down here or it's going to come from here. It doesn't matter which I do, and it doesn't matter the order, and it doesn't matter the faces that I use. So I can have all zeros or I can have ones, whatever, makes no difference. So let me demonstrate on this one. Let's say that I wanted to cycle the blue across to the orange, orange to the pink, and the pink back to here. What I do is do a jumbling move first to bring the blue across to the other side. Now replace that blue with the pink and then undo the jumbling move. And then undo this turn. And you can see that's a beautiful sequence. Only those three triangles have been touched. Now that time I wanted to move blue from here across to here and then down to there. If, for example, I wanted to move, let's say I turn it around and this time I want to move the orange up to here first, then I just do this turn first and then do the jumbling move. Then I undo my face turn and now undo the jumbling turn. And we're all finished. Okay, so coming back here, what we need to do is just search for one of the triangles that will go sort of over a face. So can we do, there we go. There's a yellow piece that will jump over this upper face to the back face there. So certainly that's going to go to there. My only question now is what's a sensible piece to use for my third piece? Should I bring a piece from here up to this position, or should I bring a piece from here? And it may not matter. I just have a look what the colors are or what might work. That's a pale yellow, which is not going to help there. This one is a white or a green. Again, none of them are going to help, so I'm not going to be able to place more than one piece anyway. So it doesn't matter. So what I'll do is do the yellow to here and then use this as my third piece. So to get this across to here, I'll first do the jumbling move. That yellow's been placed. Replace it with that turn and then undo the jumbling move. And undo my face turn. Really simple, really quick. The hardest part about this is just finding and sometimes setting up the correct pieces. So let me do at least one more before I cut away. See what we can do here. I will try and show one thing which I've found pretty useful. If I can see it. Yeah, maybe this one. So notice that this yellow piece here is adjacent to a face that it needs to go on. So what I've discovered is that when I encounter that, if I turn it like so, it now is on the opposite face to where it belongs. So it's positioned nicely. So what I could then do, for example, that's easy to remember. I'd say, right, well, I'll turn this light blue face. That's ready to go across. I want to put it in that position. So I'll turn the yellow face. So I've turned light blue and yellow. I've now got them set up. What's my third piece? I've got a choice of a white or a pale yellow. None of them really matter, so it doesn't matter. So perhaps this time I'll come from this direction and cycle this to here and the yellow across to here. So face turn first, then the jumbling move, undo face turn, undo jumbling move. Really nice, you can see that yellow has now been placed. Now all I've got to remember is what were my setups. I think I did this last. I don't think that, does that make any difference? I don't think so, although you never know. I did have to turn this front face. Okay, that looks all right. Good, you can see everything's back, and importantly, the corners will all be correctly put back if you've done it right. So I'm going to continue working my way through them. As I said, really simple sequence, just a question of getting stuff set up into position, and I shall cut back in with the last few to go. All right, well, here we are down to the last three. This is possibly the worst combination I think I've ever come across. The purple has to go there, the light blue to here, the dark blue back to here. They're kind of all on this same line. That's not what I want. So what I have found is that because these two are directly opposite each other, if I can think about doing something like this, turning the purple onto the green face there and doing the opposite move to turn the dark blue onto this face. Now they're on opposite faces, which is where I need them to be. Now clearly I'm going to have to turn the purple to there, and I'm going to have to turn this light or the dark blue to here. But I just first want to see, how can I deal with this one? What's going to happen? Now if I was to hold it like this and imagining that those two pieces are there, I know this will have a third piece that's sitting there. And look where the light blue is. And because I can turn that light blue away from the dark blue without issue, that is now what I'm going to do. And it means it is totally possible to do, just required a little bit of thought. So in terms of the setups, I'm not going to worry about remembering those two because they're easy to see. What I will do is now remember grey, yellow, green. And the only thing now is to go, what is the direction of the pieces? Because it's not immediately obvious, but I think the dark blue's going to here, the purple's going to here, and the light blue's coming up to there. So it must be this direction, and the faces I turned, grey, yellow, green. So now that I've got that sorted, I'm going to move this blue across to here with the jumbling move. And that looks good. I'll replace it with this face turn and then undo the jumbling move. Undo the face turn. All right, things are looking pretty decent there. I've just got to remember what my setups were. I think it was grey, yellow, green, so I undo them in the reverse order. And that's looking promising because all the edge parts are matching, and then that will turn back and that will turn back. And you can see that all of those large triangles have now been taken care of. In fact, the whole thing is dealt with. So, wow, if you have watched this whole thing, I thank you for that. It's clearly been a bit of a monster of a solve. It's a real challenge of a puzzle. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it helps. And as always, thanks for watching.